Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
The Trump administration's slashing of the federal workforce is not just displacing workers, it's disrupting entire households. Some are just learning that health coverage they thought they had their whole family on has ended. NPR's Andrea Hsu reports.
The day I met Danielle Waterfield, she was supposed to be at physical therapy. But a day earlier, she'd canceled the appointment, telling them,
I'm sorry, I've just learned today that I may not have coverage.
That's despite the fact she was paying her health care premiums through her paychecks continuously. Jennifer Rollin learned last week her family was no longer insured. Her older son just turned 11, but
I haven't been able to set up his well visit appointment. Can't get his vaccines.
And on top of that,
both of my children play baseball. And so now every time they have a game, I hold my breath and hope that they don't get hurt.
Rollin and Waterfield work for two different branches of the Commerce Department. Both were booted from their jobs almost 2 months ago in President Trump's mass purge of probationary employees, typically the more recent hires. Now, weeks later, a federal judge ruled their firings were probably illegal and ordered them reinstated. But then a few weeks after that, an appeals court vacated that order, and they were fired again, dating back to their original termination dates. As the court battle continues, Rollin sums it up this way.
We have been living in purgatory for the past couple months, but this whole healthcare thing has really taken a darker turn.
How this whole healthcare thing came about is emblematic of the Trump administration's break first, ask questions later approach to remaking the federal government. Firings have been carried out with such haste that HR departments have struggled to answer questions. And now hundreds of Commerce Department employees may be in this precarious position with lapsed healthcare coverage. Danielle Waterfield says it feels like an attack on her family's security.
To pull the rug out like this without any warning is inhumane, in my opinion. It completely ignores the fact that you're dealing with people.
The Commerce Department has not responded to NPR's questions about these employees' health benefits. But here's what we've gathered. After the employees were first fired, many were told their health coverage would end on April 8th, 31 days after their last pay period. They were given instructions for how they could do the federal employee version of COBRA and keep their coverage, fairly standard for anyone with employer-sponsored health care. The real chaos began when they were reinstated a couple weeks later. They were brought back and put on paid leave. Rollins says a supervisor assured her that health benefits were being restored. Plus, she was still paying her premium through her paycheck.
So as far as we were concerned, we were still covered.
Danielle Waterfield wanted to play it safe. She sent her insurer her reinstatement letter and was told, all good, no break in coverage.
Within a week, I had new insurance cards sent to my entire family.
By then, she'd already looked into moving the family to her husband's health insurance. She feels lucky to have that option. But she learned she can't do that until she can prove she's lost her coverage. So she thought, well, since I've been paying the premiums, let's move some doctor's visits up. A routine checkup for her teenager, a diabetes appointment for her husband, her own physical therapy for a spinal issue.
They rescheduled things and got us in.
Only this week did her colleagues start learning from their insurers that no claims after April 8th will be paid. Waterfield fears she's in the same boat.
I'm afraid to call my insurance company.
She says her family's probably racked up several $1,000s in medical bills in recent weeks. Now, Jennifer Rollin knows for sure her insurance lapsed on April 8th. Late last week, she finally got an email from the government about her benefits, telling her so. Now she's furious.
I get it. You don't want us to work for the federal government, but it just feels like Department of Commerce is trying to hit us while we're down.
She says she still hasn't received the paperwork she needs to get on her husband's insurance. What she's been told is that she still has a small window to restore her coverage, paying 102% of the entire cost of her federal health care benefits. Without a job, she says, how could she afford that? Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
The Trump administration's trade war with China, to put it mildly, is a big deal for our local ports here in L.A. and Long Beach. Shipping companies are starting to cancel sailings, shipments from China, and there are on-again and off-again tariffs with other countries as well, which is leaving Southern California's supply chain with a lot of uncertainty. KCRW's Megan Jamerson joins us now to break it all down, what it means for trade and jobs here in Southern California. Hey, Megan.
Hey, Steve.
The combined ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach are huge. The largest port complex in the Western Hemisphere, so this is really important, right?
Exactly. Super, super important. A lot of the stuff that arrives at our local ports is coming from Asia as well. So for the Port of LA, it's almost 40% of goods, and Port of Long Beach, it's a little over 60%. They've actually been really busy with importers trying to bring goods in ahead of all of these tariffs. But now, like you mentioned in the intro, there are reports of shipping companies canceling sailings, shipments, and we could start to see freight slow down as soon as May, which then raises a lot of questions about the price and availability of goods and jobs.
That's supply and demand right there
Exactly.
At work. And so let's start with the jobs. Fewer imports means fewer workers are needed to move those goods, to get them around. Hundreds of thousands of people in Southern California are employed at the ports and in trucking and in warehouses. Are we seeing any changes on the job front?
Not yet. Things are holding steady, but that could actually be a sign that employers are skittish right now about these tariffs. So for warehouses, for example, this is a time of year when they usually hire seasonal workers for the back-to-school goods. I spoke with the executive director of the Warehouse Worker Resource Center, which is based out in the Inland Empire. Shahryar Khoshji says it's an inherently unstable industry, and if there are cutbacks, warehouse workers will get laid off. He also told me that there's concern that if jobs are cut and if and when imports start back up again, employers could replace these workers with automation, which has sort of been this looming threat for a long time now.
You say uncertainty, of course, they're not sure, hire, don't hire, things like that. Let's go to the robots.
Exactly.
So let's talk about goods then. We are all in the dark as to what President Trump will decide next on tariffs. He's gone back and forth. Most recently, the state of California, Governor Gavin Newsom challenging the administration's tariffs in court to try and stop them. What else is happening?
Well, the Trump administration has proposed a new fee of at least $1 million every time a ship made in China enters a U.S. port. So the stated goal here is to try and pressure U.S. companies to start building more ships here. But, that's obviously not going to happen overnight. And it's difficult to know how serious to take this proposal because of how things have been going. But, bottom line, it piles on more uncertainty. And as we know, the economy does not thrive on uncertainty.
It does not.
It does not. I spoke with Christopher Thornburg about this. He's an economic analyst and founder of Beacon Economics. He says that the ports and local logistics industry were finally starting to normalize after the pandemic over the last year or so. Tariffs are another shock to the system, and in the near term, shoppers could see higher prices on things because of these tariffs. And Thornburg says that could fuel inflation, which could lead to even bigger problems.
When you talk about these tariffs, it's not as much the price of the goods as it might be the price of capital that we should be worried about. These tariff wars could set up a big increase in interest rates. That's going to be the bigger problem that we could be facing.
And higher interest rates could lead to recession. Bottom line, this is a huge part of the Southern California economy, the logistics industry, and the uncertainty is really painful right now.
And you're going to keep tabs on it, keep us updated on what's going on over at the ports. Again, the largest in the Western Hemisphere. KCRW's Megan Jamerson, who covers business for us. Megan, thanks.
Thanks, Steve.
So how's the college responding to this incident?
We're having a race forum.
And what's that?
A forum on race, so we can discuss the incident and the surrounding issues of race.
So the usual lip service?
No comment.
Illinois universities are quietly withdrawing from a fellowship aimed at diversifying the state's college teaching force. Trump officials have threatened to sue campuses that take part. Caught in the middle are students who have relied on the program to pursue PhDs and careers in higher education. WBEZ's Lisa Kurian-Phillip reports.
Jennifer Torres isn't surprised the Trump administration came after the program. It's called the Diversifying Higher Education Faculty in Illinois Fellowship. So it was an easy target for the president's escalating attacks on efforts to address systemic racism in America.
Anything that has these words, they're coming for us. Like, we kind of feel it.
Torres has been a recipient of the fellowship for 4 years now. She's pursuing her PhD at the University of Illinois, Chicago. What did surprise her is how quickly her university leaders gave in to federal pressure.
Most of us were disappointed because at the very least we were expecting for them to put up a little bit of a fight, as opposed to just saying, like, they told us to cut it, so we cut it.
In an email to current fellows, a dean at UIC said the Justice Department ordered the university to do so. The DOJ said the diversity fellowship is unconstitutional, saying it discriminates on the basis of race. They threatened schools across Illinois with legal action if they didn't ditch it. It's a scary threat. But students like Amina McBride-Retzovic, a recent fellow, say they want their universities to stand up to Trump and protect programs like this one.
If you are true to the values that you claim, the values that are espoused on the university website of, you know, education and equity and academic freedom and all of these things, then you'll take the momentary or the short-term pain that may come from pushing back on these unfair and unjust perspectives to support all of your students in what they need to be successful.
A UIC spokesperson says the Illinois Board of Higher Education made the decision to end the fellowship, but a representative of the state board disputes that. He says the state board and lawmakers agreed only to evaluate the program, which is enshrined in state law. The fellowship provides a monthly stipend and mentorship to students from underrepresented groups to help them pursue advanced degrees at institutions all across the state. In exchange, they agree to teach at colleges in Illinois when they graduate. The idea is to make professors and staff more representative of students. Here's McBride-Retzovic again, who is hoping to finish her PhD this June and start teaching.
For me, as a Black Muslim woman, I want to be able to give other students who look like me and who have my lived experiences an opportunity to connect with somebody and to be mentored by somebody who understands where they're coming from and the experiences that they've gone through to be able to get to where they are.
She and Torres say the Diversity Fellowship helped them pay their rent and groceries and navigate a world that was not set up for students like them, students whose communities have historically been shut out of higher education. Torres worries that without the fellowship, graduate degrees will be even less accessible to Black and brown students like her.
All that these resources were trying to do was make way for all of the people who were excluded so that academia can look somewhat like how it ideally should have looked if we weren't living in like racist, patriarchal place.
There are currently 115 students across the state on the fellowship this year. It's unclear how many will be able to receive it next year. Lisa Corian-Phillip, WBEZ News.
A terrible thing to waste. Environmental racism and its assault on the American mind. Written by Harriet A. Washington.
Two San Diego nonprofits are poised to lose millions in promised federal funding. The Trump administration appears to have canceled grants for local projects aimed at improving air quality in poor neighborhoods. UC Berkeley journalist Riley Ramirez joined me to discuss the impact of the potential funding reversal. Can you tell us about the overall program?
Sure. So the Community Change Grant Program is an EPA program designed to advance local projects that reduce pollution and also build community capacity to respond and adapt to climate-related events. So the program was funded through the Inflation Reduction Act and specifically aimed to provide funding to disadvantaged and overlooked communities that, given certain circumstances, face higher levels of pollution and impacts related to climate change.
Tell us about the San Diego organizations that received these grants and what they had planned to do with the money.
So Casa Familiar, a nonprofit based in San Ysidro, was one of the organizations that was awarded grant funding through the Community Change Grant Program. They received $12.7 million for their Healthy Borders Community Change Project. And Casa Familiar planned to use this money to expand low-cost, zero-emission transportation options such as e-bikes, electric vehicle car shares, and shuttles for the San Ysidro community. They plan to provide indoor air monitors and purifiers for 1,000 low-income households and whole-home energy-efficient upgrades for 15 homes. They also would have created job opportunities and job training for community members to distribute technology and also educate their neighbors about air quality and its health impacts. And then San Diego Foundation, in partnership with Environmental Health Coalition, was awarded $20 million for their Rooted in Comunidad Cultivating Equity project, which includes several different initiatives to improve local air quality, mitigate extreme heat, and expand green space in neighborhoods in San Diego's central historic barrios. The two groups were going to use the grant funding to expand a free microtransit shuttle service and electrify regional buses.
So has the EPA told these organizations anything about why the money has been frozen?
No. These organizations have received zero communication from the EPA since the Trump administration first announced the freeze on federal funds in January, which I should say was rescinded soon after and also blocked in court. But despite the court orders, funds remained frozen for the weeks following, and these groups still did not have answers. Funds were then briefly unfrozen sometime in mid-February and then refrozen again and have remained that way since March. And despite attempts by the organizations to get in contact with the EPA, they have not received any direct communication from the agency about why their money has been frozen. But meanwhile, the EPA has announced in several press releases that it has been going through line by line, canceling grants. And at the end of last month, the U.S. Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works released a list of those grants set to be terminated, and both Casa Familiar and San Diego Foundation's grants appeared on the list.
Righty, let's talk about the impact. How have these organizations been impacted?
The impact's been pretty devastating. I mean, losing millions of dollars of promised funding is definitely no small matter. And these organizations have been planning their operations around the anticipated grant funding that was contractually bound and approved by Congress. Casa Familiar won't be able to move forward on its project if the grant funding doesn't come through. And San Diego Foundation and Environmental Health Coalition are having to consider reducing the scope of their project, canceling some aspects of it possibly, and also Environmental Health Coalition as an organization is having to consider staff layoffs and furloughs.
A lot of uncertainty right now. Okay, thank you so much for joining us, Riley.
Thank you.
I've been speaking with UC Berkeley journalist Riley Ramirez.
Listen, just touching on some real issues right here tonight, that's all. I want y'all to observe the excellence here. BX providing the Sonics, my man, Minnesota. I'm letting the beat ride out because it's a part that I like when it come up, you know what I'm saying? I take this time to say what's up to my family. You hear that? You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Just observe the excellence of that. That's many.
Stay back. Fall back.
With the guitars. It's hip-hop music. It's good enough to speak for itself. And you got to do right by it. Minnesota.
Ain't no black people in Minnesota.
Minnesota state workers still in home offices will have to return to designated office buildings or job sites 50% of the time in about a month. But some new changes have been made to the remote work policy, too. The revisions detailed in a memo this week give employees who live further from their job locations more flexibility than an earlier policy did. Clay Masters joins us now to update where things stand. He's at the Capitol following developments. Hello, Clay.
Hi, Tom.
Let's start with a quick refresher here on why the telework policy is an issue in the first place.
All right, let's think back to the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. People went home after being in an office every day, to their kitchen tables or a desk in a spare bedroom. Well, that new routine stuck for a lot of people, including some Minnesota state workers. And while some have returned at least partially, Governor Tim Walz issued a directive about a month ago to make half time in the office an expectation starting on June 1st. There were exceptions, but a lot of pushback from public sector unions came forward.
All right, so what's changed this week?
I mean, not a lot, really. First off, this begins on June 1st. Like I said, so time's ticking, and the Department of Minnesota Management and Budget relaxed its initial policy just slightly. So like I said, not a lot. This new policy now says people living more than 50 miles from their primary office or work site will will be given a little more grace in asking to work from home. Originally, workers had to be 75 miles from their office. A spokesperson from MMB tells me the change grew out of feedback and, quite frankly, loud criticism from state workers in response to the initial plan. There was concern about commuting and about some employees being able to arrange childcare on short notice.
What about space? Is there enough space for all these workers to return to the office part-time? I know that's been a concern, right?
Yeah, still a concern. There have been some leases that have either lapsed or buildings closed since the COVID-19 pandemic changed the way people work in their offices. MMB is allowing agencies that have space limitations to petition for a few more months to get into compliance. Agencies would have until the Tuesday after Labor Day, that's September 2nd, to figure out how to find space for workers within affected divisions. Also, employees who live in border states and beyond the 50-mile radius can ask for agency approval to do more remote work.
Now, public sector unions were caught by surprise from the governor's announcement about a month ago. What kind of reaction are you hearing from them today?
Megan Dayton, who is president of the Minnesota Association of Professional Employees, defended the use of telework as meeting, quote, modern workforce realities. She calls this a cosmetic adjustment to an inherently flawed policy that continues to disrupt state operations, require unnecessary costs, and destabilize the workforce without addressing any clear operational need. I caught up with Democratic Governor Tim Walz this morning, and he said the change was a result of hearing concerns from state workers.
It wasn't a direct formal negotiation, but we heard the concerns of folks, and I've always done that. We've always been on the side of making sure that we value this workforce, so we're listening to them to make sure it's good. We think this is reasonable. It's certainly within the realm of where most other states go well beyond this, so we're in a good spot, I think, to get there.
The governor says he plans to meet with union officials tomorrow.
Any indication of what else these state workers would want here?
Yeah, union leaders wouldn't go into too much detail because contract negotiations are ongoing, so it's, a pretty good bet they'll be bringing concerns up when meeting with the governor. Yesterday, soon after NPR News became aware of this change, I caught up with DFL Representative Luke Frederick from Mankato. He's been among the loudest state lawmaker criticizing this change. Here's what he had to say to me.
It is an improvement from where we were at. I still have concerns. Like, there were people that were hired with explicit intention of being able to work remote. Like, their job offers said that they would be able to work from their homes, and this doesn't address that. So while it's a step in a direction that I'm appreciate, but I hope that there's more.
Frederick says it's likely something that they're going to have to fight for during contract negotiations, and Tom, that will probably stretch into this summer.
All right, Clay Masters for us at the Capitol. Thank you.
Always a pleasure to talk to you, Tom. Thanks.
From Imprisoned Nation.
The smell of pan-seared salmon topped with a creamy garlic sauce that Chef Naomi Jones is placing on a bed of wild rice fills the halls of Greater Piney Grove Baptist Church in Atlanta.
Cooking is a way that people connect from every walk of life, every religion. We break bread and we connect with one another over food.
Jones is the culinary director at the church, but she also owns and operates Grand Empire, a catering business she started after getting a degree in culinary arts and graduating from the Gwinnett County Public Library's New Start Entrepreneurship Incubator Program in 2022.
My first opportunity to work for someone outside of the program was Senator Donzella James, and I did her wedding. And it was a snowball effect after that.
The program supports a growing but largely overlooked subset of aspirational entrepreneurs like Jones, who struggle to find work and take care of her young kids following a brief prison sentence.
Once the background checks came back, it was like, yeah, sorry, maybe in another 10 years, but right now, no. And I was just really pressed on what else can I do.
Jones says she ended up applying to the program with only 11 minutes left before the deadline. A week later, she got a phone call for an interview and was accepted.
This has hands down been the best experience that I could have ever had with an educational program teaching me about business, leadership, marketing strategies.
Completing the 6-month course while trying to rebuild her life wasn't easy, but it was worth it, Jones says. And she's paying it forward by returning to the program as a mentor for a new cohort of about a dozen formerly incarcerated people who are learning to build an LLC, record podcasts, and choose a name for their own businesses.
The library it's a community hub.
That's New Start project manager Adam Pitts. He says the program continues to run on grants after initially being awarded $120,000 from Google and the American Library Association in 2020.
The students attend monthly meetings at our Duluth branch, where they hear from a local business expert on the monthly topic. And then there is an online curriculum they complete in between those classes.
In March, President Donald Trump signed an executive order seeking to eliminate the Institute of Museum and Library Services, which will affect programs that serve public libraries across Georgia. A spokesperson for the Gwinnett County Public Library says there's no immediate impact to New Start, but the long-term effect of those changes will be in shrinking the pool of potential future funders. Here's Pitts again.
In many cases, this is really the only avenue for success in life for them. There's so many barriers and stigma for formerly incarcerated people. So just to see them come to the program with those ideas and then turn their ideas into reality and an actual business is very rewarding.
More than 13,000 people were released from Georgia prisons last year, according to the state's corrections department. That's 13,000 people who could face barriers to housing, employment, and credit.
What the program did for me was it freed me up to do the things that God put in my heart to do.
Dewey Ventura is another New Start graduate.
And then also to have a plan to execute these things, not just to, because sometimes we want to do things, but we don't know how to go about doing it.
At the end of the program, Ventura won second place in a Shark Tank style competition for funding to grow his mixed martial arts entertainment company called Cholo MMA. Ventura is now a mentor in the program, which also has laptops, 3D printers, and various other resources he and others can borrow if they ever want to take their businesses even further. Shemaine Cruz, WABE News.
New York, New York, New York.
Delivery workers in New York City are accusing DoorDash of a pattern of wage theft. This comes just 2 months after the company agreed to a $17 million settlement over past allegations of wage theft, announced by New York Attorney General Letitia James. But workers say the settlement didn't end their struggle to get paid. W1YC's Arun Venugopal joins us to discuss the standoff between the workers, the vast majority of whom are immigrants, and the multi-billion-dollar company. Before we get into the latest complaints, remind us, what was that $17 million settlement for?
That settlement was announced in February, and it addressed claims that DoorDash had pocketed tips specifically that customers had intended for, thousands and thousands of delivery workers. But it was related to the period of 2017 to 2019, so pre-pandemic. And the company, in its defense, says it was related to an outdated pay structure that the company had in place and one which has since been retired.
Okay, what are deliveristas or delivery workers alleging now?
They say the company is using other ways to exploit its workers. I attended a protest on Wednesday. It was held just outside the office of DoorDash, which is across the street from the Flatiron building in Midtown. And workers there said, these practices have to do with how the DoorDash app operates. This is the app that essentially structures their entire working life. Some said they'd be in the middle of a shift, and without warning, they'd be deactivated and just wouldn't get paid. They say this often happens right after they've made a delivery, and it deprives them of the pay for being on call. These workers, they don't just get paid for each delivery. They sign up for shifts, and they're supposed to be paid while they're on those shifts, whether they're actively making a delivery or not.
So their shift is ending right after they make their last delivery, but instead of when perhaps it should end a little bit later?
Yeah, that's what they tell me. And some said they've been waiting to be paid for months or even longer. And one worker said he hadn't been paid for $3,300 in work, another for $3,800 in work because of these practices. They say DoorDash is violating the city's minimum pay law for app-based delivery workers, something that was passed in 2023, which requires payment within 1 week.
Okay, what does DoorDash have to say about these latest claims?
Well, for one, they say it's hard to address individual claims because they need more information on each specific worker and the particulars of their complaint. But a spokesperson for the company, Eli Scheinholz, told me the company's policies for paying delivery workers are based on the city's minimum pay rules, plain and simple, as he said. He said there shouldn't be a problem issuing payments unless someone fails to provide the needed information or provides the wrong information or is attempting, as they put it, to abuse the platform. He encouraged the workers to get in touch with the company and to help resolve their problems.
Arun, you've been to protests like this before, but it sounds like this coalition is growing?
It does. It's getting bigger, and it's noticeably getting more diverse. In the past, the workers who spoke up about these alleged abuses, they were invariably Latin American immigrants. Almost all the speeches were either in Spanish or in English. This time, there were also people who spoke in Chinese, in Bangla, in French for the West African community. One person who spoke in Wolof, an immigrant from Senegal. Organizers, they say this is part of a concerted effort on their part to find common cause across different ethnic groups in the city. The Workers' Justice Project says they've grown by 30% in just the last year, or an additional 1,500 workers, David.
WNYC's Arun Venugopal, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, David.
Generations of black workers found a path into the middle class through federal government jobs. The Trump administration's job cuts are now throwing that sense of stability up in the air for many black families. NPR's Hansi Lo Wong met with one of them.
Shirley Hopkins built careers for countless other black workers.
This is one of the awards that I got.
And she has the plaques from the federal government to prove it.
I was puffed up. Yeah.
And it was for promoting equal opportunity?
Equal opportunity.
Before she retired from the National Institutes of Health, she was known as the recruitment lady. She made it her mission to encourage more black students in the Washington, D.C. area to apply for the agency's internship and youth employment programs.
It was equal opportunity for those who really didn't have. You were able to get them a chance to get into the federal government.
Hopkins first got into NIH back in the 1960s as a nurse's aide in clinical trials. The federal job came with benefits her parents didn't have.
Vacation, you're covered. Sick leave, you're covered. And not being fearful like you are now, whether or not you're going to lose your job.
These days, the Trump administration's slashing of government jobs and attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are upending a path into the middle class for many black workers. It began when World War II brought a boom in government jobs.
Black Americans, for the first time, had doors open to them that really weren't opening before.
Frederick Gooding Jr. is a historian at Texas Christian University who wrote a book about black federal workers called American Dream Deferred.
It was very difficult for Black Americans to find any type of well-paying job, particularly outside of agricultural or domestic endeavors.
But by the 1940s, Gooding says the federal government's merit system offered opportunities that helped a black middle class grow.
Now, the flip side to this is that a good government job was not necessarily a golden ticket.
The federal civil service has had long-standing racial and ethnic pay gaps. Gooding says he's concerned the push by Trump officials to dismantle DEI programs will leave black federal employees in a very vulnerable position when it comes to workplace discrimination. The White House did not respond to NPR's request for comment.
They say cut back. We say fight back.
Some federal employees are trying to organize, including at the U.S. Postal Service, where, like at many other federal agencies, black people make up about a third of the workforce, while their share of the country's population is around 15%.
My family is under attack, and we're going to fight like hell to make sure that they get their hands off the Postal Service and hands off the Department of Education.
Kevin Abernathy helped lead this rally outside D.C. He's a nephew of Shirley Hopkins, who pushed him to apply for his first federal job as a teenager. Now he's a union steward with the National Association of Letter Carriers.
Not too bad. I'll put the day's mail in there.
After more than 3 decades with USPS, Abernathy delivers on what he calls a retirement route in Maryland.
I love serving the people. Post office has given me everything I have in life. The cars, my home. I raised 4 kids on this salary.
Until recently, Abernathy's career advice to his kids was consistent.
If they didn't make millions of dollars catching a football or shooting a basketball or whatever, the government is where you want to be.
But his oldest son has decided it's no longer where he wants to be. With the Trump administration pushing to shrink the federal workforce, Abernathy's son left a government job in January to join the private sector. You went into government for stability. Your oldest son left the government for stability.
Really, yep, different times. Things are changing. We just don't know what the outcome is going to be.
And that means adjusting career advice for his youngest children. He's advising them to look outside the government for now. Hansi Lo Wong, NPR News.
It's okay. See, the code doesn't say nothing against somebody going into business. That's, going into business is just going into business. That's all. If you can find a business to go into where you can make some money. I mean, there are some black people who are in business. They run in little barbecue stands or something, a chuck wagon.
Angela Hawkins runs Bamboo, a bedding and pajamas company where everything is made from bamboo fabric.
I use quality bamboo fabrics, and we just don't manufacture that type of fabric in the United States.
Hawkins says she wants to produce in the United States to avoid the tariffs, but she can only get her materials from China.
Ultimately, I'm going to have to pay that tariff regardless until we can manufacture in the U.S. what China has perfected over the last 20 years.
Small business owners like Hawkins say they are struggling to manage costs and prevent passing them down to customers. Take Patrice Hull, for example. Her business, Stuff We Want to Say, creates custom tees and apparel.
The whiplash of back and forth is disheartening to me because I don't know what to order, when to order, and when I order, I don't know how much my product is going to cost at the end.
Hull worries about losing customers, as does Sherdun Reynolds, the owner of She Prints It, a black-owned promotional products company that offers services like custom printing, signage, graphic design, and more. Reynolds says materials like blank mugs made in China on average cost somewhere between $1 to $3.
And a U.S. version of that would be somewhere between $7 to $9 per unit prior to decoration.
Reynolds says that every day a trade war drags on, it becomes more difficult to compete in the marketplace.
The downside to that is that it takes away from our profit margins, which we typically use to help empower the community.
Reynolds says she gives back by hiring people from the community and offering grants to other small businesses that generate less than $100,000 in revenue. Two things she says she's scaling back during the current economic uncertainty. Marlon Hyde, WABE News.
Got me flabbergasted talking about people not being accustomed to fine bamboo fabric in the U.S. Contraire, mon frères, as I fondle my bamboo sheets that I have had for years. Check my record, isn't that how you say it? But it's in the archives where I have talked about the bamboo sheet. In fact, even had listeners, hey, what type of bamboo sheets? Because I don't do I'm not an ambassador for a brand. They don't compensate me, but listeners have asked, bamboo sheets, super comfortable. You are way behind. Professor Griff, does he still say, get a late pass if you don't know about bamboo? And matter of fact, I had forgotten, man. You so late. I am wearing bamboo fabric as we speak, as I do many days. I forgot, what? Same thing. I've had this for years. Get a late pass. That's how you say it. Get a late pass. Worthless Negro from Virginia. Having bamboo hadn't replaced white supremacy with justice, so, yeah. Context of White Supremacy. In for another broadcast for non-white people victims of white supremacy, hopefully to share constructive, accurate information on what white supremacy racism is and how it works. Today's date, so I have been told, Thursday, May 1, 2025. This broadcast not for spectators. If you have figured out some things, hey, they do not thief your wages. Never. If you work 80 hours, you get every nickel you are entitled to every time. You don't never have to go down to HR, finance department. You don't have to do no emails and chasing folks around. I only got compensated for 30 hours last week. Never. In fact, maybe you get a little bonus. You get everything that you worked and, a little Starbucks gift card for $5, You get a little treat We so appreciate your hard work, Lakeisha. Just keep up the good work, you know. Black Lives Matter and all that. Well, we can't say that now because we got to do, but keep up the good work, Lakeisha, and, you know, enjoy something great at Starbucks on us. How did you do that? Because that is widespread wage theft. You don't have to sit around and be worrying, we going to be fired today. I've been rehired, so now I got my cardboard box to go back into work after I've been fired. I don't have to sit around and worry, we going to have benefits? Am I going to be able to check, make sure we don't get the measles? You don't have to do none of that. You are a valued employee. Lakeisha, you don't even worry about it. We need you. Elon, send us any messages if you're a federal employee. What does Lakeisha do? We gonna have pages, books, in fact, to tell them this is what Lakeisha do, and federal government don't run without Lakeisha. We got you. Or if you're in the private sector, you are valued. They don't thief no wages. You get all your performance evaluations. You get all your bonuses. They don't call you no names. They update your software and computer so you don't have any difficulties working on their, did I say your computer? They update the computer you are assigned. They update it. They don't sabotage it. They update it. They don't sabotage it. So you can get all of your work done efficiently, on time. They don't go in, do no funny business on your calendar. You say, wait a minute. I had this scheduled at 1 p.m. How did it get moved to 8 a.m.? Wait a minute. It never happens. You are a valued and well-compensated employee every pay period. How did you accomplish this? Please let us know. Gus T included. The number 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. If you have figured out how to minimize conflict with other individuals classified as not white in the workplace, or if you've had something where they tried to start something, conflict, name calling, anything, not constructive in the workplace between you and someone else who is another victim of white supremacy, if you figured out, hey, this is what to do to get all that, to immediately bring a halt to all that. And hopefully in the most constructive manner where, number one, you are not fired, harmed, reprimanded, maybe even get a bonus after all this is done. And then the other non-white person is not fired, harmed, reprimanded, and all of the non-constructive activity stops. That's like the A+ way to resolve that sort of predicament, whether it's name calling, they want to fight, anything else, to get it resolved. Nobody has been fired, nobody has been written up or even given a verbal warning, but the non-constructive activity has come to a halt. That is A+. That's one where, hey, don't you sit around spectating. If you have been able to achieve that, you let us know, because that's when you should brag about, right? That's when you can, I'm going to stand by my counter-racist work. Let me tell you what I did. Because that might be something that we can all about, because that is so widespread. Like, man, I'm going to tell you. Been prepared. It's May now. Nervous. Milwaukee, it's not late May in Milwaukee. Now it's days away in Milwaukee where you cannot drink the water. Pray for me. So, in preparation for the dread of Wisconsin, I guess this one I can say, well, say, don't say it could be worse. It could be worse. This trial was supposed to be in December. Oh my God. Do you know how furious, frightened Gus T would be, like in the dead of winter? See that word? Dead of winter in Dahmerland. We'll be thankful we're going in springtime. Now, I was speaking to Miss Sade Robinson, victim, speaking with her mother, Miss Scarborough, who I've been talking to for a while now, and yes, days away from we'll meet in person, but chatting it up and trying to make sure that she knows, who I am before I get to Wisconsin, so we don't have no unpleasant surprises with victims. And she's just been the most inspiring person ever, given everything that she's had to endure for a year and then having to live in a place where you can't drink the water. But Miss Scarborough, she said, Brother Gus, you do all this here talking about racism. And I'm going to tell you, I have been on my job a number of times. And the first, and I mean the first people to step up and cause me trouble, that no good looking. And I did the same thing I'm doing now. I cracked up laughing. I'm sorry, Miss Carr. I'm sorry. I'm be serious. Like my fault. But man, I cracked because I knew that's what she was going to say. Woo, man. Even in Milwaukee, black brother hell. And I stopped giggling eventually. Woo! And I said every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, neutralizing workplace racism. I said from time to time, Ms. Scarborough, we do hear about non-white people having trouble from other non-white people in the workplace. As a matter of fact, that goes all the way back to the plantation where non-white people working on one row of corn, and they don't like Jane or Lakeisha working on the other row of cotton. Hope she gets sold down the river. That sort of thing. Long. Didn't Quentin Tarantino tell us about that one? Brad had put Sam Jackson in the role, remember? We loved that one. Django, see? We miss you, Jamie. Miss you. Anyway, the problem is Jay Dahmer, white people. Anyway, if you figured out strategies to neutralize conflict with other victims of white supremacy in the workplace, that is always appreciated. Please share the number 605-313-5164, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Certainly, if you are having difficulties, I guess if Lakeisha has been pestering you and you are trying to figure out what to do, let us know. We'll try to offer suggestions. Document. If it is non-white people, document. And then I'm always an advocate. It doesn't have to be. It does not have to be. I do at least offer, if it is another victim of white supremacy and they are mistreating you, I do say you can make one effort to speak to them privately. Let's see if we can get this resolved without having to go talk to a white person, talk to whomever, the supervisor, person in charge, who frequently will be someone classified as white. Let's see if we can get this resolved between us. We don't have to get anybody talked to and waste time. Just can we get this stopped and move on, get back to work? That's what we're paid to do. Hopefully the person can be professional, receptive to that. We can move on. However, depending on what the mistreatment is and just depending on your temperament, it's 2025. We should be done with mistreatment. We should be about justice. Justice. No mistreating, and certainly not mistreating other non-white people. So if a non-white person is mistreating you in the workplace and you just, let's get moving, whomever this needs to be reported to get this stopped, by all means, let's be about justice. And particularly if it's, I think that this non-white person is doing this, harming me, mistreating me in whatever means, and this is something that they would not be doing to a white person. They don't conduct themselves in the same way. Even white janitor, white custodial worker, white cafeteria worker, they don't do this to them. Point taken. We should be about justice and certainly not bullying other victims of racism. Like, that's really cowardly behavior. I wouldn't care what type of job or compensation the victim got. Bullying other victims of racism is real cowardly. Take on the champs. Now, commentary, email untiljustice@gmail.com. If you don't feel comfortable with your voice or don't want to be identified, you can remain anonymous and we can share your commentary online. I will say quickly, number one, before I even get to the audio reports that we heard, I think one thing I have learned, or one rule I would say, from all of the instability that they're talking about in terms of federal workers, and they don't know, and then workers beyond that with tariffs and what's going to happen, and oh my goodness, and all this instability and confusion with regards to labor in this part of the world and beyond. In my view, this further illustrates why it is mandatory. Non-white parents, you have got to speak honestly with your children about racism, white supremacy, and I would say racism, white supremacy in the workplace in particular. And I would say, and the same thing, this is one, we don't have to get highfalutin and, oh, wait a minute now, I haven't read the right books and I didn't take the class and I didn't get to go to the white privilege conference to hear what they did. This one, you have a PhD in workplace racism. All you have to do is talk about your experience on the job. Getting jobs, not getting jobs. Have you been terminated from a job? Unjustly so. Mistreated on a job. How do non-white people treat you on the job? All of that. All of that. That should not be a mystery. And it seems frequently that is. We don't talk about like all of that. And I know it's painful and all the rest of it, but I mean, man, so okay, if everybody says that they're hurt and it's painful to talk about all the humiliations and trauma and abuse of being on the job, and I understand, having been there myself, I understand. However, this is your child. I'm sure I could take something as simple as, I'm sure most of us, if we have been on the planet more than, I'm going to say 10 years, okay? If you've been on the planet more than 10 years, I suspect somewhere along the way, you maybe have burned yourself. Something kind of hot, a little careless with a match, like, oh, burned my, I didn't die. I didn't get third-degree burns. I didn't have to go, call 911 or whatever, go to the hospital and skin graft and all that. But just, oh, that was a little hot. Ouchie. Whoops. And I'll learn. I'll be a little bit more careful next time. Fire, extreme heat can be dangerous. Okay, even with that painful moment, I don't think, and even if it was, really painful, I don't think most of us take the approach that, I'm never going to bring up fire around my offspring because it's really painful. We don't take that approach. You take the opposite approach, like, whoa. Fire is really dangerous. We got to be careful about this. Might even have to restrict access for a while and monitor and whoa. We got to have training about that. Guns. White people certainly know, whoa, that's dangerous, Reb. You got to have guns safe. You got to train you. Go out and learn how to shoot. And they do. They make videos and brag about this, taking their children. So you show them something that is dangerous. Man, racism in the workplace is one of the most dangerous things in the world. It cannot be that it's just generations and generations and generations of non-white people. We send them off, to work, whatever their career is going to be, even if we didn't work in that field, and we really haven't talked to them like, oh, man, do you know what is in store for you on the plane? Well, good job, Junior. I hope you can make it. And that seems to be kind of how it is. Well, we really don't talk to them about what our experience has been. If you're in a, care mate type of a situation, what, your mom's or what your dad's workplace experience has been and how that impacts all of us. And just, man, to miss all of that, even, after you get some distance from it, where you aren't in that immediate trauma and hurt of things that have happened, especially if you've been like fired or falsely accused of something. They said you stole all the rubber bands or tried to rape a white woman, that type of thing. But man, it's racks. I'm speaking for myself and many other non-white people that I've talked to around the world. It seems that like nothing. We don't talk about nothing with regards to the work experience with our offspring, and I just don't think that's acceptable in a system of white. I hear that excuse a lot. It's so painful. It's so painful. That is not an acceptable excuse. Period. Full stop. That is not an acceptable excuse, because so many of the times where I hear that, these are things that we really need to do if we're serious about solving this problem. Speaking honestly about racism, like, woo, that is when I hear all of it. That's so painful. Well, you know what's the most painful? Remaining a victim of white supremacy for eternity, which is exactly what could happen if we continue to, well, it's too painful to do, it's too painful to do, it's too painful to do. Well, we'll just continue to endure the pain of being victims. Got to talk to our children about the workplace. And I mean, that could be something that could be daily, really. And I mean, as traumatizing, even that's something like, as much time as you spend in the workplace and as much of an impact as what happens on the job has on us personally, to come up with whatever logic to not discuss that with your child like at all. And it seems like ever, even after some time has passed or years. Just, man, like that is a lot for a child to miss out on, even in terms of just their own preparation for what is in store for them, and a better understanding and maybe appreciation for, wow, my parents go through a lot. They put dad's water bottle on the floor. Man, they tried to put a whoopee cushion on his head. Dang. My parents go through a lot to get me them sneakers like I'm going to try and do. Maybe. I don't know. It might be the same result, but I think that is, and they might have a much more realistic appreciation of racism, white supremacy that they can apply for what they experience at school. Putting my soapbox away, and again, as I always say, Gus T does not have nary a child, so I am no expert on child rearing in the system of white supremacy. Full stop there as well. Now, one more thing I will say, just from casual chit-chat with black folks here in Seattle, which I generally avoid, but I was talking to a black person here in the Seattle area, and labor came up. And I said, oh, they had a nephew, younger person. When I say younger person, like 20. And they said, nephew, Leroy, is looking for employment. And I said, oh, okay. The University of Washington, they have openings, and they generally always do, because it's such a massive complex, and student bodies over 40,000. So you can just look online. I mean, all kinds of jobs like classroom teaching, culinary, working outside, like all kinds of jobs, because it's such a massive complex, and they have multiple campuses. So it's the one in Seattle and Tacoma. So lots of options. And so she said, oh wow, I gave the site to my nephew, and he was able to put in applications for 3 different spots. Now, this was just a couple days ago, so I have to follow up, to see if they do the same old, oh, thanks, no thanks, Leroy. We got our Leroy enough to see, or, you actually get your job. This is nothing to brag about, because I just said they have like ton. When I say ton, like if you can imagine, that's like a whole city, right? The University of Washington, their population just at UW Seattle is over 40,000. That is massive. Like, just the number of jobs that they have for like parking alone, I'm sure is staggering. So, because they give out a lot of tickets. So that's nothing, whatever. But the thing that I wanted to point out is, it seems to me oftentimes that is an overlooked resource sometimes for non-white people, and I suspect that is because white people have done such a brilliant job denying us education and making us feel unwelcome at these Ivy institutions, even if they're not an Ivy League school, that a lot of us just don't go or don't know all of the resources that they have that are available. Just, if you live in the region and just, are not aware, even just events that they have on campus all the time that are related to racism, white supremacy, and or other constructive subject matter that you might want to know and hang out, take part in just because it's right there. So if you reside in an area where there's a major public college, university in your city, county, kind of somewhat near you, even if it's maybe 20 minutes away or what have you, that might be a resource for employment and a lot of other things, but certainly for employment. Like I said, especially depending on the size of the institution, although even community colleges and such, they can be pretty good resources for employment. The more education you have, the more you'll have open to you, obviously. But that's one to make sure that you do not overlook. Can be a lot of times black people are deliberately kept unaware of all of the goodies that white people hide on college and university campuses, even for people who didn't go to that school or that type of thing. Let's see. The first audio report that we heard today, where they were talking about people who get fired and then rehired and maybe fired again and all that confusion. And they said, it's a dark time. They always put that, we feel so niggerized. Like, oh, this is what you do to Leroy and Lakeisha, and have them scratching their head all day and losing sleep and being mad and snapping at people because they think, am I going to get fired today? I'm going to get fired tomorrow. My children going to lose their health. Get away from me, you coon. Arr, this is how you treat the Negro folk. You don't treat me this way. I'm a white person. You don't have me out here wondering and firing me, and I got to walk out, and I got to come back, and do I have my benefit? I don't have my benefits. You can drive people insane just by keeping them confused. That's what Neely Fuller Jr. Confusion is lethal. That one is Gus T, but same thing. Confusion is lethal. Especially, you can just keep somebody, what? And I mean about employment. Am I going to have a job? Are we going to be able to go to the doctor and have them in that state for months? Whew. Lethal. And same thing. They use the exact same tacky racist metaphor. That's why I say that about the metaphors. They support the values of white supremacy. They sit with the folks working at the port, and all these tariffs are going to impact them and maybe even usher in automation. They said, we've been left in the dark. Uncertainty in the market. Sound like that same C word. Confusion. Incidentally, when I heard that report and they were talking about the port workers, that's one of those fields unionized that they have done such a deliberate, willful job in excluding black people for like decades of not having tons of Negroes. Certainly it would depend on, if you're talking about a port in San Diego or someplace in California, or if you're talking about a port on the East Coast. But either way, that is like a whole body of research right there in the effort to get black people in those groups. And I suspect you would still see a lot of areas where there are not very many black people working those jobs who are now worried, is this going to be the coup de grace, as they say, where they bring in the machines to get rid of all of us anyway, since it's all this confusion, that sort of thing. If we have any folks who work in the port industry, let us know the impact, the tariffs and all the confusion. How is that impacting the industry? And, how you're thinking about being in that career. And then, is this going to be what brings in the automation for the job? Because they've been talking about that for a while, too, at the ports. Fussing about that, too. Lots of white people fussing about that, too. Like, oh, no, they're going to get our jobs. Let's see. The freeze on federal funding for the EPA specifically, anything to do, sounds like environmental racism, environmental justice. We're going to get all that DEI crap out of here. And they were talking about down in San Diego that the groups that are looking like they're going to lose funding, they haven't been told directly. And they said that these are groups that they didn't say black people. They said so-called Latinas. I suspect these are non-white people, especially given the geographic location. But I suspect these are non-white people, and it's the same thing. As a matter of fact, same thing I complained about when I was there. I can't breathe. And in fact, I did see reports that those wildfires, Pasadena, Eaton wildfires, that from the early part of this year, 2025, that some of that residue trickled all the way down to San Diego. Not that I would be surprised, because they said that has happened previously, where they have some sort of fire incident in California, and because of the winds or what have you, it can drag all of that toxic pollution all the way south to San Diego. I mean, it's not that far. I think it's like 2-hour drive, maybe a little less, but yeah, it has been known to happen. So getting rid of these agencies or taking the funding away, direct impact. We've had lots of reports talking about this. Areas with non-white people, let's get rid of the EPA and folks who would at least make maybe a half-hearted effort to investigate. And whoa, we've dumped a whole lot of lead here. Like maybe, we should get some masks, or at least let the people know that it's poison. Get a cute name on it, Cancer Alley. Like at least they'll know how toxic it is, even if we're not going to do anything about it. No, we're going to get rid of it. Oh, okay. So we can't even do that now. Just poison all the dark people in Southern California and beyond. They had the report on, and not telling them that right there, at minimum, so many times in the workplace, that'll be a part of the sabotage. They love that humiliation. Same thing we heard with the federal employees, and that's a part of it with the EPA, where they were having folks showing up to their job, and they went to, swipe their key fob, and it's like, what? I didn't get, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, you've been fired. I ain't getting no email. Oh, yeah, you've been fired. They love that sort of humiliation. Can't even tell you. They could have wrote, a letter. They said they had all these private letters like, oh, yeah, we getting rid of this whole, environmental. Whatever. Okay, they could have done a published, polished letter on government letterhead. Making, how they do the old tag, well, we appreciate your services. You have done such a wonderful job. Unfortunately, times is hard. We're going to have to tighten our budget, and we're not going to be able to continue your funding. But hey, you have done a crackerjack job, and we wish you the best. Now, see how long that took? And they got AI. Can crank out some amazing "you've been fired" or "we, terminating funding" letters. I mean, you'll cry. You'll feel so good and hopeful about what's to come. You'll forget, oh, dang, we don't have a job. You'll be even forgot because they made the letter sound so good. They weren't even willing to do that. Let me get some old tacky San Diego Public Radio report to find out, dang, they not going to continue our funding? For real? We ain't even been told, like, triple T. Let's see. They had the report from Minnesota where they said they have a directive for June 1. You got to get your hind parts back in the office. And now this, I know, is going to be a massive riffraff. And they said so in the report. They said this is going to be a fight because apparently for some of these jobs, they put it in writing. Now that right there, oh man, you talk about militant. If that is the case, that it was put in writing for somebody's job description that, oh yeah, you can work from home. What they say, die, are you going to die on that hill? Yup. If they got that in writing, oh my God, we going to the Supreme Court about this. Now you're going to turn around like a year or 2 years later after I done accepted this job in Minnesota and I done got me a nice bungalow set up in Arizona, and you think I'm fitting to leave Flagstaff to come back to Minnesota? To Minnesota? For this? Nope. And I'm not quitting because you put it in writing that we could work from home. Like, oh man. Like, I could already see, they already said the backpedaling. Like, well, I guess if you live in Arizona, because that's more than 75 miles, I guess we'll make some allowances. Like, that's what I'm waiting on for all of this, where they let white people, because it was a whole, we did have C.O.W.S listeners who got to work from home. Some of them may still be chilling at home working. Some had to go back. That's it. Lots of reports. It was way disproportionate. Lots of white people, more so, are employed in fields and got jobs. You could just listen to the report at the end about the Uber drivers and the wage theft. They didn't have no reports about white people out there whining and complaining, Uber stealing all their tips. That's not what they talked about. Getting ahead of myself. But it was a lot of white people working from home. They are going to be lawyered up. Same white defiance that was around. You're not going to make me get no jab. You're not going to tell me I got to put a mask on and social distance and I'm a white man, I'm a white woman, I'm a white child, I'm going to do what I want to. It's going to be the exact same thing in Minnesota and probably a whole lot of other places. If they're like, oh, you got to come back into the office. And nope. June 1, I'll be waiting for the enforcement. Like, okay, now how many folks are you going to fire if they, I'm going to be at home on my footies. Catch me on the Zoom. White people, there ain't going to be no Minnesota nice on the part of the white people who have, and I bet you they're going to have that workplace contract. They're going to have it saved. Digital copies, they're going to be crispy too. Searchable, they're going to have it highlighted. See that right there, page 3? Sure, you can work from home. They're going to have all the language in the contract right there. Date, time, see that? White defiance through and through. And if I was a non-white person, I would see if you could tag along. I wouldn't let them make me like a showcase for that case. But, oh, man, if I got hired and that language was in my contract, I'm going to tag right along. Just put me in the back with that group when they put the lawsuit in, class action or whatever, and, and just put Leroy at the end of it. And then, because we probably going to win. Just don't put Leroy as the first name. Let's see. The section on businesses for former incarcerated people, that was from Atlanta specifically, that they had Naomi Jones, black female, victim of racism. She said she got a whole catering business. Phenomenal. She hires other people who've had criminal past. Phenomenal. Whoopee. Wish her, hopefully she'll become like a billionaire, right? Maybe she can make some vegan food because she had that salmon in there at the beginning with the wire. Maybe she'll do some amazing vegan recipes and Gus T will be able to partake. Maybe I'll even be able to have her cater an event for Gus T and the cows. How about that? Anyway, but that's the same sort of thing I said. Now, one, in terms of black businesses, Fuller said that. He said, what sort of businesses do black people get? Generally, it's the same type of thing. Beautician for black people, mortician for black people, barber, something related to food service, which is very related to domestic work for white people. It's kind of limited. Selling crack, playing basketball, brain damage, tackle football. It's kind of limited in terms of the jobs that they offer for, and particularly for black dudes. For black females, they might allow a little bit more. Ketanji Brown Jackson, 1 or 3 of you, they might let you do a little something. It's not going to be too many, but way more than the Leroys. Now, whoopee for Miss Jones, everyone who works for her and all the others. But this program, I said, man, like, it would be wonderful if they could get these programs where they're going, we're going to get great jobs and career paths for these Negro convicts. Could you all start these programs like at kindergarten? That's the same stupid thing I've said before. Like, they got another program like this where they go out and train convicts to be firefighters. Could you start these programs at kindergarten? Why do you have to wait for the Naomi Joneses of the world to get a criminal record? And now, all right, now we're going to get some resources. Put that crack pipe down. All right, we're going to get you some resources and get you a business and a grant. Why can't you get all these programs rolling to catch them before they get there? Wouldn't that be more efficient? Wouldn't that be better for everybody? Why do you have to wait for Leroy and Lakeisha to be a criminal to offer them help? This is what they want. Anyway, it's food service. Like I said, it comes back to the saying you couldn't train Naomi Jones to be like an air traffic controller because we need that bad. Like, really, we need that more than more Negro caterers, to be truthful. Unless I've been misinformed. Doctors. Unless I've been misinformed. The ride share and the black federal workers. I'll do the federal workers first. Number one, the report was about how so-called federal workers, federal jobs have paved the way for the so-called black middle class. Mr. Fuller, in his word guide, do not use the term middle class. I have no idea what that means. And if anything, this whole crisis, financial downturn, this is a tragic illustration of why that term should not be used in a system of white supremacy racism. Whatever income tokens racists have allowed us to accumulate, they can take them back instantly. This is just another example. You are not so-called middle class if all of a sudden, just because somebody else got elected as president and has been in office 101 days, oh my gosh, we not going to be middle class no more. Oh no, we going to have to sell it. No. Really, same thing. You are not a community. Doesn't matter how much money you make and all the rest of it if you are a victim of white supremacy. And somebody can, that's why I said we have to be honest, starting with our jobs. And doesn't matter what type of job you have, doesn't matter how much money you have. System of white supremacy, you can be fired in the next 5 seconds. In the next 5 seconds. And it does not matter how well you do your job, how competent you are, how long you've worked here. You've heard that. You have heard this repeated. You've heard this from white people. That being said, hey, can't be lying to our children about this. Can't be lying to myself about this. And I'm not going to be saying I'm black middle class, whatever that means. You know, our only title, I'm a victim of white supremacy racism. I think Bay Area Mom said, hey, I'm glad I wasn't fired today. I could have been. Might have said I've been misgendering one too many times. I might have been fired today. I'm glad I wasn't. It might happen tomorrow. That is the system of white supremacy racism. Not, I'm black middle class. I got my job at the post office. Mr. Fuller said that. He's a federal employee. Neely Fuller Jr., he didn't go around bragging with his chest out. I'm a government employee. I work government employee, Bureau of Printing and Engraving. You know, see my badge? You see my security badge? See? I work with Brother Bolden. We both work Bureau of Printing and Engraving. They didn't get me like him, though. I worked there for 30 years. I never heard Fuller brag. I'm a government employee. I had stable employment. Never. He was talking, what did he say? I'm a victim of white supremacy. Not, I was a government employee, 30 years. I retired. They got me a cake on my government job. Although he did say, I heard black people say that for decades. Got me exactly what they talked about in the report. Victim Shirley Hopkins, where she worked with the National Institute of Health. That's great. I did think of Nurse Rivers. Wouldn't she be a government employee too? Everybody hates Nurse Rivers, right? Tuskegee syphilis experiment. She's a government employee, right? Anyway, they talked me to death about Nurse Rivers during COVID, so I got to remember my NIH government employees and, you know, black people that we despise. Anyway, victim, Nurse Rivers. But Shirley Hopkins, victim of racism, and she talked about being, you know, that's how she got a job, and it benefits all the things that you would want. Nothing incorrect about that at all. Mr. Fuller said the same thing. He said that black people for decades, like more than a half century, said, man, I want me one of them government jobs. I want everything that Shirley Hopkins talked about. The benefits, so I can take care of my children, some job security. Maybe I can make more than a nickel. We can have more than one loaf of cornbread for dinner. Generations of black people said that. And in my view, I keep saying, that's why you've had decades, more than a half century of explicit racist fury directed at federal jobs, like what they mentioned, the post office. We've got all these Negro parcel carriers, and they walk around with their bags and raping white women in the mail trucks. I'm not sure if that's ever happened, but I'm sure that's been accused. That sort of thing. I hate all this. And President Obama and Eric Holder and Kamala Harris. I'm tired of Negro federal employees. Let's get rid of them all. That is a huge component of this sentiment. Massive. They have reports on the high numbers of black people in these types of federal jobs, which we talked about on workplace racism repeatedly. Again, we do have some federal employees who are in the C.O.W.S audience. They've used the same C word. Confusion. What Elon gonna send us today? Confusion. You're not middle class. We're not middle class. Really, I don't even say low class. We're victims of white supremacy. That is our class. The last report on wage theft, there were so many articles on labor, and most of it is because of President Trump, like because of, every Doge and everything that they're doing. Man, it is massive. Like, this would be a great time to study labor and white supremacy racism, because it is, you can just read the paper daily with your offspring and see, what are they talking about? What are they talking about specifically in your region? What are the job concerns in your region? It is lots to study. Racism, white supremacy at the core of it all. That last report is exactly what I'm talking about. White supremacy, racism at the core of it all. New York Public Radio. They got the Uber drivers. Nobody wants to cook, and that's going all the way back through COVID. So, yeah, you got to bring me my victuals and whatever else I'm going to get, my, good Thai yummies and my chicken wings and pizzas and giblets and all the rest of it. Who does the delivery driving? I told you I saw the short. I was at the Brazilian. I totally forgot. I've been to so many film festivals, I forgot. I was at the Brazilian Film Festival last year. That was here in Seattle. I told you they had that Brazilian short film all about racism in the food delivery business in Brazil. And it was a musical, no less. I told you they had that scene. All of the delivery drivers were black. I came back. I said, Chief, WTF? Is that true? Has anybody been to Brazil? Did you order food? Are all of the delivery drivers in Brazil black? And I know they said, well, you don't have no color. Everybody that they had doing food delivery, they looked like Lupita Nyong'o. They looked like Lil Wayne. These Anthony Edwards, Bron James. These people were dark. They didn't have no Obamas delivering food. These Michelle Obama complexion. These were dark Brazilian black people, all on the little scooters and bikes and everything else, doing the food. Some got ran over and killed in the street. The pizza went flying. Ah! Rio, and they went on with the musical. But I said that, like, dang, are all the delivery drivers? And I told you they had the scene, the black dude, delivery driver, he went and he got the food and he went up to the white guy's apartment and he went to bring him, and the white dude, he opened the door and he looked at the food and he said, oh man, did you bring the tartar sauce? I think you ordered fish of some sort. He said, did you bring the tartar sauce? And the driver, he said, well, I don't, fill the bag. I just do the delivery and they just, they set the bag out and I bring it. He said, but you didn't bring the tartar sauce. Did you lose it? He's like, oh my God. I'm not eating fish with no tartar sauce. You're a no-count coon, and that's what I say about you coons. If you think I'm going to pay for some fish with no tartar sauce, well, you can take it right back. You got another thing coming. You're a coon. I'm giving you 5 stars down. I'm reporting to the folks. I'm not paying for it. I'm not giving you a tip, and get the hell off my door. Good day, and you're a coon. And he slammed the door in his face. All this is in Portuguese, mind you, so you can read it on the screen, but that's what they put up on the screen. I said, dang, dang, like, is that everyday life in Brazil? It seemed like, yep, that's everyday life in Brazil. You could be in the favelas. I guess not fast forward, so we move different continent. Now we're in NYC. They listed all these delivery workers. They said the last time around, we just had it in Espanol. This time around, we got all these different languages. They said we got French. I said, oh, they got the French white people. No. These are dark people who also look like Lil Wayne and Lupita Nyong'o, who is not West African, Mexican, if that means anything. We got West Africans who speak French, though, white supremacy. So we got to put some in their language and Bangla. And they went through all these languages that dark people are known to speak. So same question that I asked for Brazil. So in New York City, do all of the people who do food delivery, are they all classified as non-white? All dark people deliver food in New York City? WTF. WTF. And then they give you that dangerous job, because I know I would not want to do no food delivery in New York City. I don't even like going to New York City. Woof. You do food delivery in New York City, and then they steal your wages, and you have to chase them around for a week to get your money? And it's not like they're paying you, middle class salary. Like, are you? Woo! I had someone write me like, I think a month ago, and they said, if you talked about people who do ride share and, food delivery services and that sort of thing. And I said, we've talked about this for years, all the way back through COVID, because we had lots of listeners who they were working these jobs, and they talked about the stress on your vehicle. It's dangerous. The racists sometimes are the people that you are bringing the food to, or if you're doing a passenger thing and you're having to transport them or whatever. But man, we've talked about this from many components. Now, I did not know. Now, wait a minute. Like, so all of the people who do food delivery in New York City are dark people? Is that true? Is this, matter of fact, that report that they had about fast food work in California, they said 80% of the people who do fast food work in California are non-white. Is it the same for the food delivery in New York City? And not just as non-white, it seems like it's a lot of non-white people who they're not even born here. Like, you got some pretend black people in there and some non-white, non-black people. So you get all these people who I would submit are probably somewhat vulnerable, because maybe they're documented, maybe they're not, maybe they speak English, maybe they don't. Vulnerable population. You can be able to get over on these folks. Like, I could see, do some wage theft. Maybe they can figure out the course to resolve this and get their back pay. Maybe they don't. Maybe they recognize that they've been cheated. Maybe they don't. It does not get any better than tacky. Do we have people who live in New York City? When you order food, have you had a white person do like DoorDash and bring you your victuals? Does that, like, I would just like to know, like, is this something, this is exclusive Negro work, just like working at Jack in the Box in California. Like, if you are a white person and you work at Carl Jr.'s, like, oh man, waste of white skin, you haven't done nothing with it. You might as well go get some crack or, fentanyl, whatever. Like, you ain't done nothing with your life. Folks who dialed in, number 605-313-5164, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. We'll nab one email and then see if folks have commentary. Maybe we have folks who've had food delivered from a white person in New York City. Let's see. Email number 1. Hi, Gus and Cal's audience. 1. Shauna will be starting a new role in a month's time in the same department, but a different division. She's now on leave for 2 weeks, which means I have 2 weeks left to report to her as my line manager. I'm glad, because she's an awful person to work. Oh my God. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if I should feel bad for laughing, or I just found that funny. Shauna, remember, is a black female. Like, maybe I could at least get my sound effect. Let's see. Sister. Woo, man, no love for the black. I told Miss Scarborough, man, I have heard that before, that non-white people, we are not necessarily most loving with other black folks on the job. White people are most to blame for this, but man, we do not have no overflow of black love in the workplace, generally speaking. Anyway, Shauna is an awful person to work with. I suspected she was job hunting for a while, so I'm not surprised, just relieved. Shelley, Zoe, and I will be managed by racist suspect Harry, as management are not planning to replace her anytime soon. I guess she sounded like this is a win. Whoopee. She's an awful person to work with. What more can be said? I do think it's important that it seemed there was some sabotage with this arrangement, business relationship. I think she told us before, and she can set me straight if I'm being retarded and my memory is bad, but I think she did have some suspicion and maybe even evidence that white people had been lying to Shauna and saying disparaging remarks about her so that Shauna would think poorly of our black female writer, and she's no good and she's lame and she doesn't do quality work. So I think, what's the metaphor that you poisoning the well, if I can steal a Swango metaphor. I think some of that had been happening. Not that, she's totally absolved, but I mean, racists always get, most to blame. They're always involved some way. Anyway, number 2, my reasons for disliking Shauna go beyond her anti-blackness and bullying, which are bad enough, for sure. Working with her leaves me feeling violated. She lies all the time and about the most irrelevant things. If I send her a report to read, she pretends she hasn't read it. Then we'll talk about the ideas in the paper as if she's knowledgeable on the subject, and my ideas are hers. Blame. It might be intellectual theft, wage theft. We got a lot of thieving in the workplace. There's no need for the pretense other than because she's lazy and a fraud. She's an intelligent and capable woman, but lazy. She had 2 lazy. Is she that lazy? Sorry, I'm laughing a lot. Anyway, plus she's hateful and fake. So any interaction with her is superficial and exhausting. That's kind of the workplace, like, through and through. I'm not going to say every single person per se, but I mean, that's why Fuller says it really doesn't get any better than tacky. Like, and that is like the essence, literally, in the definition of tacky. Superficial. It's not authentic. And white people, non-white people, everybody in the workplace, I mean, that is just kind of what it is. We're all kind of fake. Even what I say is like the most fundamental. Safety. Everybody. Who is the person that, I don't want to work in a safe environment. I like it to be a little reckless. Might chop off a finger, somebody might die. Who knows? I love working in that type of environment. Who is that person? But even on safety, we got to fake it because, we can't. We're not serious about no workplace safety. We got to have a disgruntled employee and not going to do the seat belts, and they get a tornado warning. Can we go home? You better not go home. Amazon don't close because of no tornado. You better get out there and deliver. Well, if you die, we'll send $5 gift card to your widow, maybe. But, we got to get the truck back first. Then we'll send, man, it's not safety. Safety. We can't even be truthful about that. So if we're not seriously committed to safety in the workplace, everything else is whatever. Let's see. Fake and exhaust. We got you. 3. Recently, she threw me under the bus, metaphor, in a meeting with Harry. He was upset and not communicating why, which turned what was supposed to be a positive discussion into a tense and bewildering meeting, which ended badly. I asked him to explain his concerns because I could tell he was upset. Shauna was also talking over me and taking credit for the work I'd done, which made things worse as she wasn't being honest in how she presented elements of the project we were discussing. Man, now that right there, I don't know if that qualifies as lazy or fake or dishonest, unprofessional. I guess it could be lots of things, but man, just in terms of problem resolving, man, we are not here trying to take credit and brag and show off of what I did, which you didn't even do. We are trying to solve a problem. If there's an issue, somebody did something incorrect. Now, if you want to impress me, he's saying something was wrong. If she had put her hand up talking about Sean and say, hey, something's incorrect, it was me. And I'm going to get to the bottom of it right now. And let's figure it out. Boom, boom, boom. I didn't check something or whatever, but I take full accountability, and let's get this nipped in the bud right now. Now that is a take charge young lady right there. That's what I like. All right, let's get it done. That's not what she did. Like, come on, man. All this. And again, now, that is kind of how we have been trained, see? And trained by the best. That's the sort of thing white people do all the time. I'm just here. Make sure this nigger woman, make sure she don't get credit for anything that she did anything constructive. I did all that. Nigger woman didn't even come in on time. She was outside smoking crack or, flirting with somebody or having babies and, leaving them all around the city. I did all that. She doesn't know anything about it. And I trained her anyway, but I did all that. That's kind of how we've been trained. White people do the exact same thing. Another one is that maintaining composure. Just with a situation like that, where you have a racist white man or white woman, but they're not being composed. Ranting, raving, fussing, might be cursing, and she said he's not even, being explicit about exactly what is the problem. Was something not done correctly? Was, a deadline? But like, what is the issue, so that we can get this taken care of? He's not even doing that, but he's upset. We don't even move towards resolution. Or what the most important thing that I talk about all the time, composure. I would submit situations like this, where you have someone in the workplace who has lost their composure, or, at least they don't seem as patient as they normally would be. Especially, I'd say, if it's someone classified as white, powerful white person who could maybe fire us, person that might be in charge if I get a bonus, if I get a raise, decide I want to apply for a promotion in the company or something like that, this white person might have a say-so. Woo! Composure. This is one she didn't say when Shauna started, doing the show off and trying to take credit for things that she didn't do and interrupting her as she was trying to speak. She didn't say, she started cursing her out. Shauna, shut the hell up. Why are you talking over me? What's wrong with you? That's what I say about you. That does not help at all. May get both of these black females fired. Composure. Composure. In fact, I might even, at this point, start talking slower and or speaking less, because you can always email people once the meeting is done to resolve this, especially if you feel like, well, there was a little bit, you can even say that. There was some, crosstalk, and I felt it was a little bit difficult to be heard to express whatever question or concern that I had. You can always do that later if someone has been interrupting it. You do not even have to identify and say, well, I was trying to talk to you in the meeting, but Shauna kept yelling and talking. You don't even have to do that. Just, it was difficult. There was some crosstalk. I didn't know if it would be the best environment to address my concerns. Now I have your attention. You can do that email immediately after the meeting if need be. If it is really raucous and people are all over the place, no need to add my voice to all of this. That's not going to help solve a problem. And you can tell you have people that are interrupting you and what have you who are not the most informed. They're not really interested in solving a problem anyway. They're just here, showing off or whatever this is. Let's see. Taking credit, talking over. He wasn't being clear, talking about Harry. In explaining his concerns, he confused, keeps getting that C word, he confused me and left me uncertain about what I was saying as I was caught off guard. These are not the traits of a good boss. Shauna, being duplicitous, rather than clarifying the situation as a good manager should, took the stance that she assumed Harry was taking because he didn't clarify what was bothering him. Sensing blood, she said that she was also struggling to understand and get clarity on some of my work, thereby giving the impression that I'm not very good, lying, etc., just incompetent nigger woman. I always suspected she was undermining me in this way. However, her doing so in my face was tough. So I told Miss Scarborough, I said, we love this. This is how we've been trained, get out there and publicly go at it and, that sort of thing with other black people. Plus, it wouldn't have worked out in my favor to berate her in front of Harry, as I would be deemed insubordinate. Great point. He ended the meeting, which also left me feeling numb, unsupported, and deflated. Harry and Shauna were in the office. I was working at home, so I knew they would be discussing the matter, and Shauna would continue to throw me under the bus. Metaphor. Harry sent me an email the following day setting out his concerns. He said the topic is complicated and he gets anxious about it because he doesn't understand and needs me to explain things in a clear way. He didn't copy Shauna into the email, which was notable. I could tell from Shauna's demeanor over the next few weeks that Harry gave her a rollicking. She was also avoiding me for a while because she lied and undermined me to my face. Hey, I cannot say enough. To be expected. And I also, just in my opinion, and this is easier said than done, but in my opinion, when we don't have that false expectation, like she didn't go into the office talking about our young lady doing the writing here. She didn't go into this situation, Shauna is my black soul sister. And we are ride or die, and we're going to eat together, and we're going to take our lunch breaks together, and, maybe we can take some vacations together and all that, and, she can tell me about her experience, and I'll talk to her about mine, and we'll talk about Neely Fuller Jr. on our off days. It's like, what? That was not her thought process at all, and it shouldn't be for any of us. Just because it's a dark person classified as black, maybe I went to the same college, maybe I went to the same high school or whatever. So what? There's no expectation that you all will have the same views about racism, counter-racism, your careers, anything. There's no assumption or expectation that they're going to be supportive of you. There's not even an expectation that they're going to be truthful with you in a work environment. She just said she lies all the time. All the time. Even that. That I would make note of that. And that would be the case for anybody in the office. Like, oh, okay, this person is deceptive. Going to have to be, a little bit cautious about her. Confirm, corroborate things that she says to make sure that it's accurate and truthful. Especially things that are super important, serious business. Double confirm everything so that I don't get tripped up. But man, I did not have any sort of expectation that, oh yeah, Shauna has got my back. Wrong. And she didn't have that expectation. And I think because of that, even though it's frustrating, which it is, nobody likes having someone lie on them. Nobody likes having somebody take credit for your hard work and intellectual labor. Nobody likes being sabotaged. And then the public humiliation of it all in front of white people to blame me because he's upset or whatever, or is incompetent or whatever the case. You're going to blame all this on me? That is anybody logically should be upset about that sort of thing. She stated it beautifully. I could get upset. I could start name calling Shauna and what are you talking about? I didn't lie. You lying heifer. She could have done all that. That would not have helped the situation at all. And probably, like I said, and she said, Harry would have just looked at like, oh, she's insubordinate. This old, nigga woman. Or he could have fired them both. Got two, sassy, no-count nigger women. I get rid of them both. Nah. That's what I mean. Like, maintaining your composure, even when it is challenging to do so. Think calmly. That's also another one where you can take a breath, like that sort of situation where they're sitting up interrupting you and talking over you and getting mad and everything. That is for sure one. Take some deep breaths. Dr. Welsing. You can have your ancestors too. It could be, if you have family members, ancestors that you had connections to and all that, you can just channel their spirit. Help me stay composed. Use some logic. I'm going to plot the best response. What is the best response? And sometimes it is say nothing. And almost she kind of walked through what I said because he contacted her. I said it the other way around. I said, you can email the person. He emailed her. Either way, you can do an email after the meeting. It's not like you're never going to talk to or see these people again. I mean, unless you get, they get you the cardboard box and you get the pink slip in the meeting, which rarely that's going to happen. So, yeah, you can talk to these people later that day or tomorrow, whatever it is, if you have concerns. And it's really become like a tacky and kind of uncomposed situation, at least on other people's part. Always best you don't add to it. If somebody is being unprofessional or even they're worked up and mad and flustered and all that, you don't add to it. That's when I try to get quiet, take my breaths, We can be pinpoint with what you say. Continuing. She's being undermined. That's a different one. Number 4, coincidentally, our division will be doing some training in a few weeks on leadership. Oh, so needed. We've been asked to complete a self-assessment, and we then invite people we work with to comment on our leadership style. I was on leave, so I needed to complete mine. Zoe, Shelley, Shauna, and right-wing Ashley have completed theirs and are not happy with the feedback others have provided, which was also done online and confidentially. I don't know. Like, are they like complaining in the office? Is this like they meet at the water cooler type of a thing? Like, I can't believe they said that I'm aggressive and nasty and authoritarian. Like, are they like grousing? And I don't, even if they said you're lame, like you're not leadership material at all, and they should never promote you to manager or CEO, even if they said that, like, I don't know. Is that, I don't think that's something I'd be walking around grousing about in the office. And even if they did have feedback that, you're a little weak in these areas as a leader, well, good. They got the leadership workshop coming up, so I'm going to take good notes at the training and make sure I sit front row every day. And then maybe I can correct some of those deficiencies. And they'll give me an opportunity to show how much I learned at the training. That would be my take on it, because they got the training coming. I don't know why that would be something to be walking around like mad. Some of these folks like show up to Zoom in their pajamas and they're going to be mad. They're going to say, I don't have leadership quality. Can you believe the audacity of Yes, really. Number 5. I wasn't invited to give feedback on Shelley. I'm glad. Someone described her as territorial. I previously reported to the C.O.W.S that she has colonizing traits as she keeps trying to take over projects I lead. Echo, we heard that before. I don't remember what Zoe said she was unhappy with, but whatever it was, I remember thinking that it was an accurate assessment. Right-wing Ashley was told she's oblivious, which she was very upset about. I thought it was also accurate. And finally, Shauna's feedback and said she's manipulative. Oh, dang. That's so wild. Spot on. I suspect this might be Harry's feedback, and it's true. That is so clowning. I didn't think it would be. Wow. Okay, so they were very precise about the things that they were upset about. I would not do that at all. That, in my view, that is so unprofessional. I don't know what the context is. If there was supposed to be some sort of I don't know, group forum? Did they get together to discuss the result? I can't imagine. But either way, I would not be grousing and complaining about the feedback. Like they say, you're oblivious. Okay, I'm not going to get defended because we got the training coming up. So, hey, you could really show out and hey, how can one be more aware as a leader? What are the traits of an aware leader? They say, he's receptive to feedback. And then you write down everything. And then see that maybe they'll give me some opportunities to show that I'm aware. I pay attention. That's just my, thought process. Not I'm going to sit around and grouse at, much less to have and I wouldn't do that even if the white people are doing that, which it seems there was a lot of. Even if they do that, I would not do that or recommend that to someone who is classified as non-white. We are perceived so frequently as unprofessional, militant, angry, not a team player. You can fill in the descriptor that we got to get you out of here, Leroy, Lakeisha. I would not. If you get feedback, and I don't know if this was a computer, an online survey type of a thing. Was it AI? Did a person do this feedback? I don't know how this was all collated, but however it was generated, if you're going to a training and the white people at work wanted this to be done, I think she said Harry participated in some of the feedback, or he may have, I would not want to be recorded or have someone spread rumors that, oh man, Gus was down there and he said that that survey was worthless and that y'all on here didn't know what you're talking about, and he talking about he's obtuse and oblivious and you don't know what you're talking about. And I see it. I would not want that reported back to anybody, not the custodian, not the janitor, not my supervisor, like nobody. If anything, I am looking forward to the training so I can address any leadership concerns and really get skills, techniques to be a better leader. I think that's what they would want to hear. That's what I would want to hear. Like, hey, they looking to take advantage so that they can be better. That's what we're supposed to be doing, learning to get better, right? I could be being ignorant. They might say that old Gus, he's coon too. He's not a good leader either, which might be true. I'm not in charge of nothing, so might be true. That would be my suggestion. If they give us, especially about leadership, I don't think that's a good trait of a leader, to be sitting around. If they give you something that's supposed to be constructive feedback, and you sit around and grouse and complain that everybody's doing, it's not like they just sat around to grouse and complain about you personally. Like, everybody did this, and then we're all going to go, do the training corrector. Why is that something to complain and they don't know what they talking about blind on me? Come on. Maybe we'll see. So when our author, when you get your feedback or whatever, you can let us know. If they tell you, if you get mad and you think you need to go curse the folks out, let us know what your feedback is, and we'll see if, it's something constructive that you think you can use, that when the training comes up, like, oh, okay, I'll just take this with me and see if I can get some tips to build on. We'll see. Much obliged for sharing. Fascinating as usual. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. The number 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. We have folks, federal employee folks, we have any of those folks, or I guess people, the tariffs and all that. Have they been talking about that on your job? Same recommendation. I guess second suggestion. I would not talk about that stuff on the job. When I say stuff like the tariffs, Doge, Elon Musk, Trump's 100 days, federal employees being fired. Even if you're in one of those groups, you're a federal employee or you work at a job, what have you, where the tariffs might have a direct impact or what have you. I would not talk about that in the workplace with other non-white people, white people, no politics on the job. Even if it's having a direct impact on your job, I would not talk about that in the workplace. Same thing. You have no idea what the other people's views on this situation are. That is not what you are paid to discuss. Think whatever you want. You have your thoughts. You talk about that away from work. You have no idea. Your manager, their boss, they might, I got a Tesla. What you mean you don't agree with Doge, excuse me. That sort of thing. Or whatever. You have no idea if it's a non-white person. They might, love all that. Saying that they might have a Tesla too. So you have no idea. Talk all that stuff away from the workplace. If they bring it up in the workplace, you can quietly listen. Let's see. Folks who dialed in with a hand up, you have commentary to share. Bay Area Mom should be with us if you have commentary. Oh, might be muted. I'm not sure.
Can I be heard?
There we go. Yes, ma'am. We got you now.
They want me to upgrade. That's what it is. This phone, this tricky stuff, because they want me to purchase a new one. Greetings to you. Thank you for taking my call. I wanted to, real quick before so I'm not affected by anything that you talked about or asked, and because I don't work for the government per se, and in the little school that I'm at, we're not necessarily affected, even with the strikes, because I think Oakland Unified School District, they went on strike today. I don't know what they'll do tomorrow, but they had a 1-day strike. So you would get paid if you come by and say they wouldn't let you cross the picket line, but if not, then you don't get paid for that day. So that's that. But here, even though I'm in Oakland, I'm charter. What else? As far as talking about, I try very hard to kind of stay in my own zone, and it's so much going on with the children. If someone does bring up something, I can kind of just, bring it back to the children if I'm involved, because it's not worth the argument. And what are we going to do about it? Just sit up grumbling? So it's kind of a waste of time for me at the school to have that kind of conversation with these people. I wanted to share, when I was talking last week about being the educator of the week, I mentioned the song, and I would get back to the song. So the queer lady, what kind of song do you want? Now, I didn't think anything about it because I never even thought I would be educator of the week in the first place. So I just said, I don't care what song. I don't care about the song. What song? I don't have a song that I want you to play. I don't care what song. Play whatever song. Do you know this heifer? Do you know this heifer played whatever it was? It was the switch. Switch is switch. So switch, I think switch. The barge, a couple of the barges was in switch back in the day. So it was like, I'll call your name. The beginning of it came on. I'm like, oh, okay. Switch? No, it was just the beat to start it off, and then next thing you know, you hear boom, 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 boom. Nigga, B, nigga, ho, nigga, ho, B, fuck my. And I'm like, and I'm just looking at, mind you, we're in a classroom. We have our morning circles in kindergarten class. So we're in kindergarten class. Thank goodness there wasn't a kid in there, because sometimes there's a kid in there waiting because that's her class and her mom works there, so she'll be in there. So the kid wasn't there. It was just so offensive. I'm looking around now like, why would you pick this song, stupid? So I'm not looking at anybody else's face, but you can see my face like, oh, with all those explicit words. I'm just thinking, why would you pick? You so stupid. It was just slapped her. So that's just how I really felt. So because I was so stupid, why would you pick that song? You could pick any stupid song. Why would you pick that? So I go on about my day, but sometimes that day, I just want to apologize to you, for the song. I did not know, I just picked top something, some foolishness she said she picked, and that popped up. So I'm just like, yeah, because I'm wondering, why would you pick that song? And she said, I did not know it was going to sound like, yeah, next time, please don't do that. I never want to hear anything like that at work. So I just want to say sorry. Oh, just could have slapped her. So she's been looking at me crazy ever since, because I really thought that was so deliberate to me. Because you could play any song. You could play one of the little dumb Beyonce songs or something. Why would you play something that vulgar? I never heard this song. Shut up. But I didn't say shut up, but I'm thinking shut up. So the person that I always misgender, I'm working on it, though. I haven't done it recently. I'm working on it. It's so disgusting. So she missed a day, I guess Tuesday. On Tuesday, this young gentleman that I enjoy, he had the children in his group after school making rainbow toast. So come Wednesday, I wasn't there yesterday. So come Wednesday, yesterday. Oh, you made rainbow toast? If I would have known you were going to make rainbow toast, I would have came to work. I thought you were sick, Heifer. You were going to come to work for rainbow toast? So the head teacher was looking, I heard, like, you would come to work for toast? So you took off work, so were you really sick? Because it just, if you would have came for rain, so if you don't know what rainbow toast is, you wouldn't have called sick. Okay, buddy. So, today this gentleman, no, bam, lady. Today I just happened to look, and this lady has on these little bitty shorts, little bitty beach shorts, like not for work shorts, and flip-flops. I don't understand why anybody working at a school will wear these, not protective shoes, but flip-flops and these little booty shorts and this little tank top, walking around. What are you doing? Then another lady has a shirt. Well, I'm hot. Do you think if I take this sweat jacket off, it would be okay, appropriate? All your cleavage is showing. It's a spaghetti strap shirt, T-shirt. What's wrong with a regular shirt to wear it? Why would you even ask? Of course it's a sweat with your pullover on. Why would you wear that underneath? Why wouldn't you have a real shirt on underneath your sweat jacket anyway? So also yesterday while I was off work, because I only missed 2 days of work, and those were for 2 funerals since I've been there. And I was going to work a split. I was going to just work the morning and go to the funeral from there. But no, I took the whole day off. Because they're like, no, take the whole day off. I took the whole day off. The child in the room had to take the day off too, because he can't have a day. He can't have a day without me. So he didn't go come to work either. He could have went to the funeral with me. And I get a text message right before 6 saying the one day that you call off and another kid breaks my finger. So the gentleman that I like, I'm 23. I don't want to date him but I just think he's a nice young man. He, a child, so this child, he's first grade, fourth grade. They both enjoy this black man because we don't got a lot of black males in our space like that. So they both enjoy this black male. The issue is, on top of whatever their special needs are, somehow or another you can tell the father is not in the home. Something's going on to where the father's not in the home because every day the first grader, oh, miss my dad. So as soon as his mother come pick him up, he's just running, oh, I want my dad. You did my dad to pick me up. That kind of. So this particular child saw the person that finger got broke, ran to him to give him a hug. Whichever way he ran, knocked his finger to where it broke. And so he's like, I'm sorry. He still wanted this hug. So what I said, because I don't want to mad at the kid, or tripping off the kid, because he didn't intend to break his finger. He just wanted the affection that he's missing or lacking from a black male, I believe. So, because when they see him, they get so excited. If this man misses a day, that fourth grader, which is his brother, will inquire on him. One day, I think this man was sick, so I called on my phone because he was really looking for him. And for this one of the staff got fired in the beginning of the year. So he's been, and when it happens, sometimes children, they don't understand how to ask, where is this person, especially if you like them. I have one that hasn't seen this man's face in a while, and he's been with him for 2 years. He doesn't know how to ask where this man is, but he knows that he's not there anymore. The fourth grader, he would continuously ask about this one black male because he didn't want him to be missing like the other male that used to be there. He wasn't black, but he used to spend time with him. So I call on my phone and let him talk to him so he'll know, he's okay. He's wherever he is, but he's okay. So even when he leaves, oh, no, he's only going on vacation. He'll be back, that kind of thing. And then, no, I didn't want anyone to tell him that his brother was the reason why his finger was broke, because then he would have got mad at the little brother and said he made him break his teacher's finger. So it's interesting how our relationships affect the children. A lot of the children, some of their trauma is because of the relationship with the parent, either positive or negative, constructive or destructive. A lot of the staff is leaving. Like today, the kindergarten teacher, his last day is tomorrow. well, he's an assistant to the teacher, but he's out there tomorrow, so he won't even get to finish the rest of the year out. So by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it'll be strange because he's not there, and he's been with these kids since he came. Just those kids, and the ones before that are in second grade. He used to be there, so it's just that things come, people come and go, that kind of thing, but the children become affected. That's my whole concern. So I'm not saying for him to stay or anything. He commutes way from Stockton to come here. So there's another one of our schools out there. So maybe he'll go there or something. But he's going on leave. Then kind of quick because he wants to use his maternity leave before that expires. So, but nonetheless, he won't come back. So when the children get attached to the instructors or the help, it's hard for them when they're not there anymore. Just all of a sudden, it changes, and I notice different behaviors with the change. So I won't hold you up, but I did want to share that story about the music because I was very agitated when this gal thought that would be funny. Or if she could have did it on accident, who knows? But I just think even when you start hearing that kind of vocabulary, you just switch it. Go to the next song. We're in an elementary school. School is all our kids are outside until, they go out. The teachers go out and bring the kids in. But we still have kids in there. So I just, stop. So that's it. That's it. Thank you for taking my call.
Dang. Were they bringing up the politics at school? I know you said you try what Fuller called compensatory conversation control. You were just trying to steer things back to the children. That's what we're here to help the children. But that's what you were talking about? Like they're bringing up like Trump or the tariffs or DOGE, that type of thing at school?
Every day in real life. Every day, every morning, every day. We got we even have little ice cards in the front office. Just every single day is something about Trump. 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 Every single day. Well, you're president. Every single day.
Wow. That is so inappropriate. I mean, that is so. And they said, you're president. Come on. That is so inappropriate. Like, we're at school. We are at school. That is so inappropriate. I mean, man. Excellent. She said, redirect back to the children. This is not. And even if I wouldn't care if she agreed like 1,000%, if she said, no count Trump and as a matter of fact, I think he's a race soldier. Exactly. I think that's what he's doing. It's all about white genetic annihilation. I do not care. And the same thing I just said, I would not be right on, sister. We need more. No, none of that. That is not what you are paid to talk about at all. And you have no idea who is listening. What if the superintendent walks in? Like, for real, I didn't even think you were supposed to be talking about this stuff at school. Like, I thought you'd get in trouble. You're not supposed to be, regardless of who's, and I love me some obesity, or that no count Trump. None of that is appropriate for the workplace. She's at a kindergarten school. Like, come on. And that's another one. Just because white people do it, that does not mean, well, the white people were talking about politics on the job, so I'm going to do that. No. You let them do all of that. That's one where you can easily do. Or you just redirect, as she said, what are we? Oh, we're at the school. We're here for the children. That's right. Let's get back to that. Come on. Now, she said with the song, suspected racist, anti-sex, and all the rest of it, she got my effort. Elementary school, she said. Not that it would have been, that much better if this had been Leroy and Lakeisha in high school, like they're about to graduate now, so they might be 18 and legal. They can go and get all the filth music that they want to, right? So, but these are little people, elementary school, 10, 12. Fuller used to talk about, he said, this is the sort of music they got that, they put the big, skull and crossbones on and say, warning, parental advisory, damage your brain. Ooh. Why you gotta put all these warnings on it if, it's just music, it's not a big deal. Why you you don't put all that on Sammy Davis Jr.? Why you gotta put all these on the 3-6 Mafia and what you want the black people to nigger, be nigger. Now I know Leroy and Lakeisha, that's what we are supposed to listen to at 18, 19, 20, 65, 35, 85. That's what we're supposed to listen to. And all day long. And all night long as well. But the 5-year-olds? The 10-year-olds? What? She said she turned it on and it wasn't even a, oh, dang, my fault. Whoops, let me go. My fault. I just picked the Spotify playlist type thing, and I didn't know. I thought they had the AI generated music. My fault. She didn't even do that. It just went on. Nigger, be, nigger, be, nigger, be. Come on. That's what and that's another one now. Okay. What are you sending your child? These are the little, your 6-year-old. 8-year-old. What are you sending them off to? That's even one. That's one, if you talk to your child about workplace racism, that's why I say I'm, an advocate of no music in the workplace. If you got to listen to music, if it's on your earbuds or whatever, you only put one earbud in because you need to be paying attention to things that are being said around you. Are they talking trash about Trump? Are they talking trash about me? Are they playing B and nigger on the sound system? You need to be hearing what's happening around you. They might be plotting to fire you. You don't know. But I'm an advocate of no music because they'll do the same sort of thing in the workplace. They'll come in, hey, what it do, Bay Area mom? Let's say she wasn't working at the school. Let's say she was working at, computer facility or something like that. And they'll come in the office, or it could be a factory. I think she had said Amazon before. Either one, office, computer facility, or factory. And they'll come in and they'll have the radio playing and say, oh, I got, music I want to play today, get us motivated. We really get a whole lot of stuff done. We'll be super efficient. We'll impress Elon and them. And they turn it on to B, nigger. That's what, even people doing rideshare, they do delivery work. And they'll turn something like that on. Like, whoa, that is super inappropriate for really any work environment. I wouldn't care if you were doing catering work, dry cleaning, drywall, any work environment. That is not appropriate. If that's the only music that you like, the only music you can listen to, well, we're going to have to be working in silence today. We'll have to do a little, whistle while you work. That'll have to get us through the day because that is not appropriate for the workplace. And everybody should understand this because I am certain if there were such a song that was cracker, 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 and whitey, 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 and cracker, 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 immediately we would all get, now we can't have that playing in Cracker Jack today. Now I know you back here getting these tater tots cranked out, but man, we just can't have that playing in Cracker Jack. Carl Jr., wherever it is, White Castle, we just can't have that playing, in the restaurant. You have to pick some better music to do the tater tots. She's at the that's at elementary. They got the kindergarten. I said it right. She's at the elementary school. Come on. And that's one now. Imagine if Leroy or Lakeisha had done such a thing. Not that it would have been better, but just, Now, come on. Anyway, she said the anti-sex racist suspect, white instructor, called out sick, which, may be valid. We don't know. She might have had the Rona. We don't know. She comes back and said, whoa, y'all had rainbow toast? What? I would have come to work if I had known y'all had rainbow toast. She said, the white one said, whoa, wait. Were you sick for real? Are you sick for real? You would have come in for a piece of bread? Not to help us educate these non-whites. Nah. You gonna put some anti-sex colors on a piece of bread? Man, I will show up with the Rona. Now that right there lets me know, what are your priorities for even being here? If it's got something to do with anti-sex, sign me up. I'll do 2 tours of duty. If it ain't got nothing to do with anti-sex, oh yeah, I'm gonna take a sick day. I got sinus infection and got a little bit of the gout. Y'all not doing, you said y'all not doing no rainbow toast? Yeah, I'm gonna go and call out today. See if I can get myself feeling right. Get in tomorrow. We're gonna have that rainbow toast tomorrow though. Man, that's again now. Why is that so important? If that was the most important thing, hey man, you can't drink the water in Milwaukee. This rainbow toast gonna get that corrected, man. Get all that lead out your system and you can use it as a water filter and everything. Rainbow toast for all. I don't think that's what it is though. If that was really gonna solve some of our problems and get us closer to justice, whoopee for rainbow toast and all this anti-sex. I don't think that's why they're promoting it. Especially not, why for elementary school? You got people there who can't even read, man. You confusing me to death. You got LGBTQ. I can't even read. What word is that? Lagidiboo. What is that? What? Put some consonants and vowels together, man. I don't even know what you're talking about. That's what you're sending your child to, coast to coast. That and the racism, let's see. She said the child she went to condolences. She went to the funeral, condolences, family, relatives, friends. Person probably should have had many more quality years on the planet if they were classified as not white, which they would have had if we had a system of justice as opposed to what we have, white supremacy. She said she took a day off to go to the funeral services and such. Child had a day off too. She said the child could have went to the funeral too. That struck me like these are the children who need the most help. I just said you got children there, can't even read. Amongst, a host of other academic deficiencies and the rest of it. She gets a day off. They have substitutes and, all the rest of it. That's the only person in the state of California who can help this young fella get right. He might as well come to the funeral too. She took it. Yeah. Imagine if she, had won a counter-racist scholarship and got to go on a sabbatical. She got genius child. They're going to go to Brazil and do a counter-racist study of their educational system for 3 months. Now what? Well, you take the whole 3 months off too, Junior. That's embarrassing. Now, say it for the third time now. That's what you're sending your child to. Maybe you can cross your fingers and get lucky and they'll get a Bay Area mom. Maybe. And then, if she has to take a day off, you out of luck. Man. Apparently, they do not have a plethora of privileged black males at the Bay Area schools, as she stated. So the few that they have, oh my goodness, we got father hunger. Where are the dads at all these privileged black males that disappeared or ran out raping white women or selling crack cocaine or whatever else privileged black males like myself do? But they're not there, and they don't tell. And we heard they don't let young academic in the classroom because he didn't want to rape a white woman. They wouldn't let him teach, as he tells it. I'm sorry, young fella. Anyway, but they don't let the black folks in the classroom, so they don't have that many black male educators in California or anywhere else. So they see the black male. Oh my gosh, black male. Oh my God, he's not in prison or dead, and broke his finger. Being so, I guess, excited, eager, deprived of black masculinity. Like, Jesus Christ, that is like the saddest thing in the world. I don't even know what to say. Like, what in the world? What in the world? That's black male privilege? Is that black male privilege? We're so father starved and black masculinity starved. Whew, man, that is, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say. Man, man, like, that's why, that one thing I guess I can say, that's what I said about now. They could get some of those programs where they say, now, okay, after Leroy and Lakeisha, after we've locked you up for, 20 years and 30 times, now we'll get a program and help you see if we can get you on the right path, maybe get you a business or something. You could start that program right here, as opposed to playing nigger, and bitch in the classrooms. You could have some great, that California was one of the states, they got the prison program where they train you to be a firefighter. I said the same thing. Hey, this whole state might burn down. Why don't you train them to be firefighters from right now, as opposed to all that profane music and anti-sex and rainbow toast? Hey, we're in a state that might burn down. Didn't you read Octavia Butler? We're going to train some firefighters. Hey, job with the benefits. Nah. You have to wait till you get to prison. Once you get that orange jumpsuit, then we'll train you to be a firefighter. For less pay, of course. Call it hind parts backwards. That's the G-rated version. Hind parts backwards. That's how everything gets done in the system of white supremacy racism. Condolences for the loss. And that same father hunger, in fact, might be motivating, because she keeps telling us about the, what do you call it? Sexual interests, so-called dating interests for the black males that are in the school, and that she told us last week, disrupting activities. People can't even be where they're supposed to be for school activities because they're fawning over this dude, or, oh man, why don't you, want to hook up and all that? What's wrong with you? He's trying to be professional. What? That's not what you said. No. Might be the same father hunger. It's still not appropriate, but I'm just, much obliged, Bay Area mom. Man, that was depressing. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. Can I say something?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
I say something? The TK, they're dating. TK and K are dating. I walked in the room Tuesday. This little boy, this little kindergartner asked, can he play this song? The guy that broke his finger, could he play this song? And the guy, he was like, what song? And this little girl in kindergarten, like, no, because all he's going to be doing is, I'm like, let him play the song. Man, he played the song, little boy, baby, I want to be with you, baby, this is for you, baby, I want to be with you. No, and he was pointing like he was on American Idol. And I just looked, I was like, oh, no, you're not going to serenade her. You're not going to be serenading her. No, you're not going to be serenading her. And so now he looked so that he had to stop serenading to her. So then 1 minute later, her father walking. And they're somewhere 2 weeks before that, they got caught. This one, because they fight over this little girl. So this one had her underclothes down, put her underclothes down for one of the little kids said. So, so I just threw that in there because they're dating in TK. They're dating in K. And nobody's saying nothing. I'm so excited now because nobody's saying anything. It's not abnormal. So I'll mute myself. I just had to throw that in there because it goes with what you said. Okay, thank you.
Crazy. That is so crazy. That is so crazy. Dang. All that inappropriate music or sounds, Fuller would say, but all the inappropriate sounds that children are exposed to via YouTube and wherever else, but hyper-sexualized, hyper anti-black at that super young age, where you can see the results of it. But I mean, wow, I couldn't imagine like serenading someone. What? That is crazy. Like, what? Anyway, man, like, that's the same thing that I said about all that anti-sex. Like, what? We're in 6, 5, 4, all of the folks at this age, man, you don't even know how to read. You don't even have like basic life skills, much less I'm, LGBTQI and all the rest of it, and I got my rainbow toast, I'm ready to roll. Or we've been dating and, I gave her the serenade of like, what? What? Spell serenade. Come on. Come on. Like, man, priorities. Now, you can even contrast. She's talking about these little folks who can't even read. And they're dating. Bay Area mom, she can check me if I'm wrong. She has told us her scholarly young fella shared on the program repeatedly, graduated from college and all that. Her young fella, who's now in his 20s, her young fella said, dang, I'm in school and college and my 20s, and I don't have time to date. I got important things to do and responsibilities and all the rest of it. Like, I don't have time to date. But at 5, they say, oh yeah, we dating. We've been coding for a long time. Like, what? What? Come on. Dr. Welsing talked about that, as have many others, though. But that's what I've said about not having that television in front of your child. In fact, I've even said get that TV out of the house when you have offspring. This is why. This is what they're going to be exposed to. So they can be hypersexualized at 4 and 5 and all the rest of it. And or what the anti-sex instructor was playing, all that nigger and all the rest of it. If you want them, exposed to all that and thinking that that's normal and that's black culture. And engaged in celebrating that that's what we've been doing forever. Dr. Welsing talked about this like decades. I don't mean decades ago, like even in the 21st century. I mean, Dr. Welsing talked about this like decades ago, like back in the 80s. Like 50 years ago, Dr. Welsing talked about this, and this was our pattern of behavior. New dance, we'll know all that, as will the offspring. Counter-racist logic. What's our reason for being on the planet? Not gyrating, not making a sexual impression on someone else, but replace white supremacy with justice. I ain't got no time to date. I got to be universal man, universal woman. That's the way we supposed to be thinking. Ain't no way. Woo, man, sad one there. Much obliged, Bay Area mom. Compensatory Conversation Control. Don't let folks rope you into talking bad about President Trump or tariffs or nothing else. Talk about the children or whatever you are paid to do on your job, which I am sure is not to discuss politics, unless you got a microphone in your face at work. The number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. We'll give folks another 5 if they have observations, suggestions to share. If we have other folks who, I guess if they've been talking about Doge, Trump, the tariffs, are we going to be fired? You think we'll still be working together come September? If they've been talking about all that on your job, let us know how you, if you've kind of codified how you respond to all of that. Let us know. As I said, even if it's non-white people, I wouldn't talk about any of this. I would just listen, see what they have to say. Like I said, even if you agree with the things that they're saying, you have no idea who might be listening and all the rest of it. So you are not paid to discuss politics on the job. Let's remain mum on that. Talk about things related to the workplace. We should be here on Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Abraham Bolden's 7th installment, The Echo from Dealey Plaza. Getting to the home stretch of the book. I think we have like 3 sessions left. I have to look at the text and see how far we get through tomorrow, but I think we should have like 3 sessions. Let lots of workplace racism there. I would be remiss, like, oh my gosh, the whole book. Drinking in the workplace, after hours in the workplace, is a massive part of the book. I might even say that entire his memoir is why you do not want to drink with your coworkers. You do not want to be in that habit of hanging out for happy hour and all the rest of it. It can be dangerous. Certainly an environment that is super tacky and rife with just the lamest of racism. You already got to deal with that in the workplace. You do not. It's nothing worse than a racist work environment than an alcohol-fueled racist bar environment. Double whammy. But Abraham Bolden's The Echo from Dealey Plaza, as we're wrapping it up, now that he's been convicted and all the rest, and some of his white co-workers even come in and participate in getting him falsely convicted for this nonsense where they're lying on the stand and lying under oath and all the rest of it. These same white people that he worked with. Same white people that he worked with. And some of his non-white co-workers participated in getting him criminally convicted too. One more time. Black folks, non-white people, these are not your homies, brothers, sisters, no expectation that they got your back. I said the same thing. Hey, his black colleague who got on the witness stand and lied and helped set him up and all that. Hey, I said the white people could have told him, look here, it could be just Agent Bolden who gets criminally indicted, or it could be 2 niggers. 1 nigger, 2 niggers, it really doesn't make us a difference. Make a decision. It could have been as simple as that. That doesn't make it any better. I mean, we all want to be about justice, but hey, white people have lots of ways to pressure and manipulate non-white people into helping them support the system of white supremacy racism, and that's all of us just by being on the plantation. So that's what you should expect in the workplace, and we have got loads. I had no idea it was going to be so much workplace racism in Bolden's book, but it's been loads of it. Black brother indeed. Let's see, our caller at the courthouse down in Florida, where he told us last week after they had that shooting at Florida State, old Phoenix Ickner, suspected racist, who is still alive, so they'll have a trial and all that. But he said they didn't come to work grousing and complaining. I'm tired. All these white killers going out here messing up our flag state. Well, I don't know if they say flag state, because they probably say it about UF. But either way, messing up one of our, famed universities and great Florida State and everything. Bob Bowden put into that, going out there and shooting up the campus, killing white children. Ought to be shamed. We're going to have gun law. He said, They didn't do none of that. He said the most you got was one white woman. It seemed like she a FSU booster. He said, man, it's a shame what happened. And they moved on. That was it. They didn't get no indictment and grouse at it. Yeah, same thing. I'm not saying to bring it up I didn't, encourage him. You should have brought it up and asked questions. No. Just observe. That's another one. Like, if Leroy had gone and shot up Florida State, they'd have been mum. They wouldn't have said nothing. No commentary. We're not going to watch no news reports about this. Let's see, our caller at the courthouse in Florida. If you have observations, should be with us as well.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners and callers. Yes, sir, Gus. The FSU fan, that white woman, she had like she'll wear the FSU shirt, the Florida State car mug, and even the other white people that even wear the team shirts, they still was practicing white code and not saying anything. I noticed that, and speaking of the politics of a black victim of racism, I wouldn't have said this. I guess it's like a VGQ. It was a white woman, the pale predator. We like to wear the short skirts and stuff. She came over there and to the apartment where the black victim works, and she initiated a conversation with another white woman who's going to be going to another courthouse, I think down in Orlando. So she reported to me that this white woman made the comment, "Yeah, I'm glad they're sending them back to their country. I'm glad Trump is sending them back to Mexico or something." And she said, she asked the question. She said, "Well, where would he send his wife back to? Where would you white people go back to?" So the white people got quiet. You know what I mean? So, and then after that, they didn't really say nothing about the Trump conversation or anything like that. And I guess something came up about Columbus and everything. So she asked them that question, and they kind of just walked away. Like the racist suspect had turned around and walked away. Some other situations I think involve racism came up. It was a customer that I was talking to. She wanted to get a copy of a 1962 marriage record, okay? And she said she looked at it online. She was from California, and she looked at the website that houses the marriage records, and she said, I noticed that they have the race of the wife and the husband. And I said, yes, ma'am, they do have them in the ancient records. And because it'll say either white, or Caucasian, or colored, right? And she was just like, yeah, I just don't know what to say about that. We don't really have that over here. So I was like, okay, did you want a copy of this or what? Like, you want a copy, a certified copy? So she was, I guess, trying to make commentary on because they do put the race classification, I guess, from the 60s to about 1973, and then I think they stopped doing it. But she said that was puzzling to her, that it had white and black and everything on the old record. So, I pretty much just got back to just getting to where she can get a copy, and I gave her a copy and everything. She paid for it, and that was that. It was a white woman that came in from a law firm And the black female victim of racism said, I don't know if I shared this, but I wanted to just share this. And she didn't really know who this person was over the email. Okay, so she had been corresponding with her for maybe like a good 3 years. And this person came in to get a marriage license, and she was like, "Oh, I didn't picture you this way, and I picture you with having this long blonde hair and everything." And the white person was like, "Oh, I don't know if that should be a compliment or what." And she was like, "Oh no, everything's fine." And I just never had that kind of exchange before, sitting next to this coworker, and there was a white baby, right? They was trying to, the white mom and dad was trying to get their baby to sit still so she could take this picture, and the baby would not sit still, okay? With whether it was with the stuffed toy animals or whatever they was trying to use to get the child to just sit still. The child kept crying and turning red, turning red in the face, okay? And the two white women, right, they was trying to help calm the child down. And one of the things they were saying was that, "Oh, you know what? You know, you're just you look so nice, so pretty, and you look at these pretty blue eyes and everything." So, but these two constantly like to be with black males, okay? So they were saying this to this white baby, and the white baby just did not want to take this picture. So I don't know if they ended up getting the photograph or not, but it was just like 3 or 4 people just for this one child. And I just started thinking, if it was a baby that wasn't white or a black baby, I think they would have given up on the child. You know, they would have told the parents, "Well, can you all come back another time?" Because that's one of the people in that. Is that what they do? Because the person I was on the phone with, they was like, "Oh," and this was a white person. They said, "It sounds like that baby is being shot," right? So I'm like, "Dang, that's wow," you know. Now, what a comment to make. I said, "Well, we just have babies that have to come in and get a passport." But the baby was that loud, and they ended up leaving. But I just think because the baby was white, more people tried to come around and try to give these little faces or whatever and try to get the baby to laugh. I just never seen them do that with babies and toddlers, children that aren't white. I wanted to report that. And there have been black people coming in to try to get paperwork. They're trying to get this job, and they're saying, "You know, I'm so frustrated. I was trying to get this new job, and they turned me down, and I just don't know why they keep having me come back to get." I never seen somebody white. Okay, I never seen a white person coming in to get paperwork. The last one I seen was the guy talking about Terrell Bradley. Okay, and he even said he said he was glad he wasn't black. So now, you know, that's interesting. But it's mainly the black people, okay, coming in. They have to pay like sometimes $50, $30, $60 because they're being asked through these background checks to come in and get these judgments and these documents because I guess whoever the entity is, I'm thinking it's somebody white, trying to get them to come back and collect all of these court and papers and documents. And if I could share 2 more, there was an email that was sent out. The black person, a black female that I know I've spoken about her for some years. She was there for 7.5 years, and you know, she sent out this email and I guess typing out a sentence for everyone in the department. And then when it got to me, of course, I was at the bottom before the white woman that she has high regard for, of course. And the comment she typed in about me was that she says that, oh, she said, I'm unapologetically you, like in reference to me, you're unapologetically you, and you stand firm in who you are, and I admire you for that. So, I didn't really say anything. And then, of course, after that, she says, oh, and last and not least, this is my ride or die, my good friend, yada, yada, and all of these words to say about the white woman. So, but she just exited, and, I just said, take care and go on to your next job and just try to do your best and everything. So she's going to another position. And the last thing, Gus, I really wanted to share this one, is the white woman who didn't know nothing about ancient records, so she was helping a black customer. And she was looking up this deed and trying to look up this deed, and the customer needed a deed prior to 1968. So when I found the deed, it had the family last name was Thomas. So I found the deed in the ancient record book on the website, and then it was the name on there was Leroy, and I thought about that name Leroy, and I just started just laughing, right? It was Leroy and Sadie Thomas. So we helped the customer out, and she was thankful and grateful. I said, no problem, and you take care, have a good day. But the white person couldn't even find the deed. So, I helped out, and I helped out the customer. And that's all I have to share. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
That is hilarious. Leroy, the infamous. Wow. Was it Leroy and Shady Thomas? Was that the last name?
It was Leroy and Sadie Thomas, Sadie. I guess I think that was the wife's name. Leroy and Sadie Thomas. 1942.
Wow. I bet you white people robbed them out of all their property, and they may have condos there now, or pools, or who knows. That'd be interesting to even see, what that property looks like now, or even the whole neighborhood. Like if that was like a black part of town, as they say at that time, and then who lives there now? Like, is that still like a black neighborhood? Like, do they have condos there? Golf course? Who knows? Like, that is fascinating. Wow. Leroy and Sadie Thomas, property owners circa 19. That's World War II. Wow. Fascinating. Let's see. He said they brought up the politics in the workplace. Same thing. I said, hey, anybody, they bring up politics in the workplace, shh. They're complaining about Trump, Elon. They, say they're going out to burn a few Teslas after work. That ain't got nothing to do with me. Listen, at most, I'll listen. Maybe I, take a few notes there, grousing and complain. I especially wouldn't be loyal to, I am so suspicious about that. Like, any white person grousing and complaining. Now, we got the other end of it, but they're grousing and complaining about Trump in the workplace. Like, he got the other end where he said they were in there, we got these immigration policies and I want to get these folks out, don't belong here. Yeah, whatever. Same thing with that, whatever, whatever. Like, if white people really didn't want these individuals to be here, they wouldn't be here. Might be lying on that. Some of these very people saying all that. Go home. Who you got doing your landscaping? Oh, Jaime. Interesting. Lots of that sort of thing, but whatever. She said they're in there grousing, complaining, we want them, get them on out of here. We need more of these ICE agents and get these folks that immigrants, non-white people that don't belong, get them, give them the boot. Yeah. And he said the non-white female victim, he said, well, where would he have to send his wife? Uh-oh. Broke the whole meeting. Who asked this nigger woman to jump in anyway? I'm going back to the office. I do. Click members will talk. On the phone. Now, he did say, I wouldn't have said that. Victims guaranteed qualified. Not judging. VGQ. Hey, she did ask a question. I recommend stay in the question lane. She didn't make a statement. She just asked a question. Hey, and sometimes all it takes is one question. Shut everything down. And it seems like she broke the whole meeting up. Got everybody to go back to work. Just one where he's going to send his wife. Back to work. Let's go. We're going to name call her a little later on too. But back to work. And that's what we want, really. Let's get, because we're not paid. We didn't come here to right on, get these immigrants out. Or did we? Did that change? Where is that in the job description? Hey, right on. At minimum, I do say stay in the question lane. We're not supposed to be participating in politics and all that, but hey, question lane. So we break up that discussion. He said they come in, I guess person came looking for the marriage records from 1962, kind of ancient history, I reckon, and said that I guess this was a white person, and they were allegedly surprised, like, oh my goodness, they've got racial classifications on the marriage records. What do you mean? Colored, white, what? Why is now? White people cannot be ignorant about racism. They have racial classification on many government forms, the census and birth certificate. I mean, you can go down a lengthy list of government documents where they, I think your passport too. I'd have to look. They got the real ID, right? So everybody can look. I think they got racial classification on the real ID. I might be incorrect, but I think that is the case. So, I mean, if this is somebody white, and they're what? Colored? What? Black? Why is that? I can't even believe. Do you know? That is come on now. Come on. Let's say, even if this was like a white 10-year-old, like, really? You learned all this in, come on now, really. The one now, that is fat. The one where he said, I guess the person was on the phone, I guess, and they contacted whatever and talked to the person, and then they came in and saw him. They're like, oh man, you don't look like what I thought. You'd be like long blonde hair, and you don't look like. Whoa, I don't even what I don't even know like what sort of voice you would associate. Like, okay, this sounds like someone who would have long blonde hair. Like, what? That doesn't. I say you can't even pick out if this is a white person or non-white person. How did you get that detail just from, you get like with authentic blonde hair, blonde wig, color, like what? Man, I don't even know what to say. I guess she didn't either. She was like, what? What are you what? Man, what does someone who has like kinky black hair, what do they sound like on the phone? Anyway, when it got to all of the, I said, Mr. Fuller said before, it doesn't get any triple T's, tacky, trashy, terroristic, and I said with tacky, inauthentic, insincere. Being tacky, a hallmark is when somebody is going to quit, gets fired from a job. Oh, man. I said Fuller, he did not poke his chest out. He was talking about someone leaving voluntarily. Voluntarily, they got another job. But either way, when they're leaving departing a job, Fuller said, I told you he didn't brag about working a government job for 3 decades. Talked about it on the program with us. When he left his job, government job, retired, he said they, threw a big bash and had the party favors and a cake and all that. Probably Swango did. But had all this nonsense and for he's a jolly good fellow. And he's, man, you got to be joking. He said he just went up and looked at all of it for 2 minutes and dipped. I'm working out the rest of my day so I can get paid. You're not going to Swango me on the last day. Put laxative in the cake and we got Fuller on. No way, man. It does not get any better than tacky. And when they do any of that, if somebody is leaving, because sometimes they come and they try and swindle you. Fuller didn't say that they got him no, $200 gift card to Macy's or nothing like that. They got him old raggedy cake, give him some diabetes on the way out. They try and swindle you and say, hey, look here, black brother, Melinda, she's leaving and going to work down another courthouse. We gonna get her a gym membership, and it costs $500. And we think if everybody can put in $20, we'll be able to nab it. So if you got that $20, we'll be able to pitch in, and we'll give her a send off like you would. What? $20? Do what? I don't even have a gym. What are you going to? Come on. And I mean, it does not get any better than tacky. They try and come and swindle you out of some money. Boundaries. Do not feel bad. No. I'm hurting. I'm broke. You say what I just said? I don't even have a gym membership. I'm hurting. You got $5 I can hold? And they'll give you the stank eye and, keep it pushing. But all that nonsense they got to send around. So you are my ride or die. And we've been through thick and thin. And then they get to you last. You're unapologetically you. Have a good life. Right on. It's been nice talking. And it does not get any better than tacky. I don't know what that, and it doesn't even matter. That's what I said, because we're not friends and homies, and we're not going to be pen pals after she leaves, and we hook up on WhatsApp, everything. It's been nice. I don't need to hang out at the after hours or no cake or nothing like that either. Right on. No, I don't need to sign the card. Right on. He said that the white person, I guess, working at the counter. Oh, and the child. Wait a minute, with the child. He said everyone went to coup and, oh man, you come on now. You got the pretty blue eyes and oh man, let's get. Blah, 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 blah. I didn't know. He said that sometimes, I guess, if the child is being fussy, they can just say, hey, maybe you all have to come back another day. They're not being cooperative. I hadn't even thought of that. Oh, wow, you can give them the boot. Dang, that's okay. But they didn't do that here. They just, oh, man, come on, we'll work in. It became a whole group effort. See if we can soothe the child, make him, get through this whole photograph process. Same thing. If it had been a black child, they might have hit the panic button. In there causing a ruckus, and you're not gonna do right and smile and do the photo but at least the parents, we get them and club them upside the head. You probably did something or smoked crack and got the baby all riled up and all the rest of it. Man, and even to point out that and you get the same phenotypical characteristics. It seemed like she was, for whatever reason, that would have been great too if she could have explained why did you think, just based on the voice on the phone, that I would have long, not just blonde hair, but long blonde hair. And then, oh, he's got those blue, beautiful eyes. Come on. Most people on the planet don't even have blue eyes, even that being something that, both of those being characteristics that are so desirable and worship. That is white supremacy racism. Dare I say albino affairs one more time. Fascinating. Man, that's even when I said if you work on a job where there are white children, that is one where you probably need a code just for being in an environment with white children, and then that can be a lot to learn in terms of the system of white supremacy, especially if you get to see how people respond to white children and then what's the response like to non-white children. He said the white woman who was working at the desk, she did not know about the ancient records, which I said I would have been fired from the courthouse because I'd be down there all the time. They'd be looking for me, whatever my job is, even if I'm custodial worker, I'm supposed to be mopping. Oh man, where's is Gus the Floyd? Is he down in Ancient? Oh, yep, you fired. Yep. You go down on your lunch break, or whatever. You don't hang out all day long. And did you see they got the neighborhood and Leroy and they got the man? I have no idea how that would be the highlight of working at the courthouse, like ancient records. Like you can go and do all that. She's not concerned. She has other means of studying white supremacy racism, but bravo for being able to help. I said that right there. Like if you're at a job where you can be courteous, professional, and help out black people, because he's mentioned that like bunches and bunches of times. Our caller, where people have come in and tried to get copies or whatever, and they were confused about the process or whatever, and he was able to help them get what they needed, or they didn't have the correct information or what have you, and he helped them get that, or the records. Like it's been bunches of times where he's been able to help out somebody, a black patron specifically, where if they had gone to the typical suspected racist tellers, like, oh man, like maybe they get the documents, maybe they don't. That right there, massive, in my view, massive component of counter racism. I wouldn't care if you work at, I was going to say Jack in the Box, but we don't want to be eating tater tots. So even if you work at like the grocery store or whatever, like being courteous and professional to the black people that you serve, like gee whiz, like that is, even sometimes just being competent, right? Because this situation, I don't think he said anything about the white person necessarily being rude. They just didn't know about ancient records. He did. He told us about it before. So just that, I'm competent at my job. I can serve this black person professionally, competently, and I even learned Leroy and Sadie Thomas, property owners, 1942. We all learned it. Like I said, it would be amazing to go and see now what does this property area, neighborhood really look like now? Who's hanging out over here now? Fascinating. Any hoodles. Oh, and he said the folks that were doing all that coup and hang out with the black folks, man, or do all the tragic arrangements. No surprise there at all. That'd be interesting too now when the black child comes in. Do these same predator white chicks, do they come over to the black child, or there's panic button? But
yeah, they don't even go over that.
He said they don't even go over that. See? Ain't no cooling, ain't no soothing. It'll be all right, little fella. You got those little pretty ebony eyes hanging there, little buddy. You have a dad? Where's your dad at? Is he around here? They don't even do nothing. They don't do none of that. Segregated. Triple T's. One more time, but I would say that be observant. I cannot state that enough, especially if you work on a job where they bring the children to work or whatever. White children are there. Be observant to how people respond to white children at work, even the non-white people, how they respond to white children at work, and then how people respond to the non-white children. It can be fascinating. And then I think if you do that enough, you'll say, yeah, I probably should keep my children away from this environment. Yes, you should. Any hoodles. We shall be here tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Abraham Bolden's The Echo from Dealey Plaza, which is lots of workplace racism in that book, too. And then again on Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, compensatory call-in. Catch up on the news from the past week. Much obliged for folks tuning in, hopefully worthy of your Thursday evening. Man, sobriety would be best. You can, for those who, Abraham Bolden, right there, teetotaler. He didn't do none of that. I'm going to get drunk with my coworkers and go do happy hour and all that old nonsense. Nah. Sobriety would be best. Preserve that brain computer. Creator, help us maximize our time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Remind us not to waste non-white people's time and energy, especially our own. I spoke about that with Miss Scarborough, Sade Robinson's mother, this week. We were in such agreement on that in terms of valuing black people's time and energy. Put that on Sade Robinson, because none of us knows how much time we have in the System of White Supremacy Racism, 19 years old, Sade Robinson. Stop name-calling black people. Stop being discourteous to black people. Stop producing throwaway offspring to have rainbow toast at school. Cal signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. No problem. You're a victim. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.